Good morning, good Friday morning. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. This is the early game. You made it. It's Friday. I contend that Thursday is my hump day, and I felt every bit of that hump yesterday. So I am glad to be here on Friday. A lot of things happening. Tyler, how you doing this morning, sir?
Doing good. I'm awake.
You're awake.
That's
You're
the
awake
most
this
important
morning.
thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you had to wake up early for one day of the week, it's not bad that it's Friday, right?
Fridays are the preferred day to do this because, one, it's only one day, and two, I get the benefit of having more time in the afternoon to get out. I have a list of things I have to do once I get out of here, but I have more time to do them now, which is nice.
Of course, yeah. And like I said, then you don't have to worry about your sleep schedule being too messed up for the rest of the week.
My thing is like, okay, how exhausted am I going to be staying up for the day and then trying to go to the spring game tonight? Because, that's going to be a long day. But I'm going to power through it.
Speaking of big sports night tonight. Big sports night tonight. If you want to get involved in any sports that are happening, you have baseball taking place over at Founders, coming off a big dub.
Going for a series win tonight.
Coming off a big dub.
For the first time against a Power 4 opponent, potentially, which is crazy to say in the middle of April, but here we are.
This is where we are.
We're making the turn. We're making the comeback.
Maybe something's happening. I know we had the clip from Pulmonary last week.
We're making a turn towards the back nine. We're about to hit our stride.
So here's the thing.
There you go.
He was, everybody rolled their eyes and was like, anything can happen in the second half of the season. And I was pretty much like, yeah, I don't know about that. And I still don't know about that. But it was nice to get a win last night. Gamecock baseball gets the win over Ole Miss 3-2. A gem, masterful gem. And I'm not sure the numbers, the statistics, or the percentages, but how rare is a complete game these days?
Oh, very rare. Especially I'd say it's even more rare in college baseball than it is in pros. Because, again, you got analytics and pitch counts and all those kind of things. Saying, okay, I know he's pitching a shutout through 7 innings, but we want to save him for next week. Don't want to tax that arm too much. Let's bring in the bullpen, and that's inevitably where you even end up giving up 3 runs and losing the game. So in today, I guess there's almost like a what do we got to lose kind of thing where, if you're, I don't know, instead of being 2-13 in conference play going to last night, if you're 10-5 and you're contending towards top of the SEC, maybe they bring in a reliever and say, you know what, we don't want to risk pushing them too far. But at this point, what have you got to lose?
Or if your bullpen has been known to hold leads.
Yeah.
That's another thing, right? So I'm sure there was in a precarious situation. It's like, okay, we don't want to push this, but do we want to bring anybody else in this game?
He's rocking and rolling. If we see something go sideways, we'll change things up. But for now, we're good. But and did you make it at the end of the game last night? It was a very quick game.
It was under 2 hours.
Under 2 hours.
Under 2 hours.
I'm here for it. Give me a 2-hour game.
Correct.
7 days out of the
Correct.
week. When the runner reached in the top of the ninth on the error off of Scobie's glove.
If you haven't been watching this team if you didn't say, oh, boy.
You're like, here we go.
This is it.
Leading run coming to the plate. It's about to fall apart.
For sure.
And thankfully, it didn't. Great double play right after that. Ground out to end the game, and boom, we're out of there in 2 hours.
Yeah, if you've been watching the team at all this year, and as soon as that happens, and I heard you and Terry talking about that earlier in the week, and it's just so tough as a team that loses a lot. That's when it happens.
Yeah.
You're winning, you're playing a great game, it's tight, and then it's it's not as if, I guess they marked it as an error, but it was a tough ball. It took a tough out.
Anybody that's ever played third base, that is a tough ball.
It was a tough play, right? So it's not even if he just botched a routine. It was a tough play. But in your mind, you start thinking, here we go again. This is the one.
Yep.
Oh, man. But to their credit, they made it through. So we'll talk a little bit more about baseball, but big win for them last night. Obviously, the spring game tonight.
Yep.
7:30 at 7:30 at the Bryce.
Is it a kickoff? Is it a start? I haven't known how to phrase that this week. Like, hey, kickoffs at 7:30. I don't know if they're kicking off though.
I like it. I like your thinking, Tyler. I said 7:30 start. Yeah, I assume they're going to do a kickoff. May not be live.
Yeah.
May not be live, but there'll be a ceremonial kickoff because I'm not sure if you just want to. So that's our first prop because I'm not aware of the schedule today. It's our first prop. Will they kick off or will they just trot the offense, defense onto the field?
Maybe, if we're going to test out new rules, maybe they kick off and T-bar to signal that the ball cannot be returned because that's now a thing.
Well, yeah, new rule changes have happened. South Carolina seems to have a pretty major influence.
Yeah.
Maybe that game against Illinois was foreshadowing for the new rules changes, the T-bar, the fake injuries, all kinds of stuff happening. We might get to that a little bit later because, yes, there are new rules and things that are happening. So, yes, 7:30 start. We'll see whether it's an actual kickoff or whether they'll just go out there and trot the first and second teams out. You have that. WrestleMania.
Yes, sir.
Now, here's the thing, Tyler. I am of a generation where, first off, WrestleMania was one day.
Yes, it is. It was.
Right? One day, and it was on one day on Sundays.
Yes.
It's not that anymore, so it's now a 2-day event.
Yes.
Also, and I don't know how this, and I guess with new streaming, I was just reading, it's live on Peacock.
Yeah, so all the what used to be called pay-per-views, premium live events now are exclusively on Peacock. Raw, Monday Night Raw, is on Netflix.
Right.
But Peacock, because they used to have their own network, and then it kind of joined with Peacock, which is a subsidiary of NBC. So all of the premium live events are on Peacock. So if you pay, I think it's like $7 a month now. I don't know. I've been subscribed for years. I don't pay attention to that charge anymore.
Do you know if you have it or not? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't.
So it's less than $10. I know that much. So you get that, and you get all the premium live events.
So premium live events, formerly known as pay-per-view events.
Yes.
The days of pay-per-view. Tyler, there was a time.
I never got pay-per-views as a kid.
You never? What do you mean? Like your family never got them?
Yeah, we never got them.
Of course, they were crazy expensive.
It's like $60 for one 3-hour show.
Yeah.
Like WrestleMania was 4 hours, so that was a little bit different. But like, I remember asking one time for one, and my parents were like, "No, we're not doing that." I had a buddy though, whose dad did buy the pay-per-views, or they'd go somewhere to watch them, and this was before. I couldn't even get on the computer most of the time anyway. So Monday morning after a big WrestleMania or SummerSlam or whatever, I'd go to my buddy Trey, tell me what happened. Give me all the details. I need to know what happened because, and I wasn't allowed to stay up to watch Monday Night Raw for several years.
So you was
until I got a little bit older. So it wasn't until Friday Night SmackDown on Friday night at 8 o'clock on UPN that I got to really understand what happened at the pay-per-view.
How'd you make it?
I did. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I didn't.
So we will talk a little bit of WrestleMania because it's coming up this weekend, part of the whole thing. Obviously, you have the Heritage, and we have a live correspondent. I'm not sure if he's on the way, if he's there.
Well, he's awake.
Perched. We do know he's awake. So we'll have a live correspondent. We'll have Bill from Lexington calling in, and we'll get some conversation with him. News yesterday, another legend retires. Lee Corso has made the decision to retire, and I think everybody's more maybe it's just my feeling, more relieved than anything else. Grateful, obviously, for his service, but more so relieved. Like, thank you. I'm glad that they allowed him to go out on his own terms. They took care of him, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with this. Because look, ever since he had the stroke, however many years ago that was, his health has put him in a position where he can't contribute to the show the same way. And I went back and watched some clips from when they were here in 2012 for the Georgia game. Man, sharp as a whip, jumping in and out of every single segment and being Lee Corso. And again, since the stroke, he has not been able to be that way. But obviously, he's so important to the show. They've made it work to have him still on there. And sometimes he just does the headgear. Sometimes he's on for maybe one segment an hour and, usually has a page of notes in front of him that he's reading off of to help him get through whatever he has to say. And I think the worry for a lot of us is that it was going to come to a point maybe where maybe he has another stroke or his health just takes a turn where it's an abrupt, hey, he can't be on the show anymore. That's it. I'm glad that we get a full-on celebration of what his near 40 years on the show were. And in a way, Terry and I talked about this yesterday as well, get us used to the new show in season, right? Because let's say if his final show is going to be at the end of this year, rivalry week after Thanksgiving or whatever, the entire offseason would be, man, game day is going to suck now. It's not going to be the same. We're going to hate it. We're going to hate it. Now we get an entire season of the show without him. And in a way, there have been shows he's been absent from before. We've kind of started to get used to it, right? Now we get a pretty much full season of the show without him to where in the offseason, nobody's talking about it. And it just becomes a normal thing once again.
Right. And it's not a question of is it going to happen, is it not going to happen, or things like that. So it's solidified. And like I said, I think for me, and I wonder maybe we'll talk to everybody else if there was sort of just a feeling of relief, like, okay.
Yeah, he got to call his own shot here.
Right, and this is good. And they did a great job of taking care of him on set. But everything has its time, and so this is cool for this to end like that. So yeah, we got a lot of sports to talk with. My guy Fran Brown is the quote machine.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm telling you, he's rising up the ranks very quickly as maybe the best quote in college sports.
Every time he gets a microphone in front of him, you're going to get at least one good quote. And I appreciate that. Again,
Absolutely.
We talk about it. A lot of coaches are very cookie cutter and stale these days. Not our boy Fran.
Not Fred. Fred cooks when he gets on the mic. So we'll have Fred maybe a little bit later in the day. But we got a lot to talk about. Lot going on today. We're going to get your comments, and we're going to try and frame what is the spring game. What are we looking for? What are the things that are going to happen? And what do we want to see? What would we consider a success out of the spring game? When we come back, we'll have a little spring game talk. This is the early game. Pressing here for our friends at Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been family-owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third-generation Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom-and-pop values that you love. Ben is determined to raise the standard of sales, service, and retail. At Cato's, they are proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the friendly team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, and find financing options. And their service department will keep your gear running strong. The crew might be young, but they have over 125 years of know-how in outdoor power equipment. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's Cato's Power Equipment at 803-254-3711.
We do have a report of an accident on Old Hilton Road at Chapin Road. Hardscrabble at Wilson Boulevard also appears to have a tie-up early this morning. Going to be sunny, up to 84 today, 88 breezy and warm for your Saturday, 86 on Sunday and Monday. Next chance for rain coming in maybe Tuesday evening, but right now, starting off the day, 51 on 107.5 The Game.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. We'll be talking to Bill from Lexington here shortly coming up. But tonight, big game, spring game, 7:30 Williams-Brice. Start time, we're not sure whether it's going to be a kickoff or whether they're going to trot the two teams out there.
I can't remember if they did kickoffs last year or not.
That will be something interesting to see. Like I said, they might do kickoff. And here's the other part. Sometimes they do special teams all live because they want to get a little bit more work.
True.
Or sometimes they don't do special teams live because they want to avoid injuries, especially like kickoff. They probably do live punt.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they'll do in between. But here's the thing. Spring games, I think, have generally been on the decline around the country.
To say the least.
It just feels like whether the teams are canceling them, going to alternative formats, holding them on Friday nights, it feels as if the attitude around spring games seems to be as if they're trying to, as I said, trying to sunset spring games. They're trying to just make this thing maybe go away.
Yeah, and I know this all kind of stemmed from Matt Roll talking about the tampering thing. And for some coaches, I think that is a level of concern. But I also think it's just limiting access to your program, information that's getting out, and looking at, Coach Beamer and 14 of the 16 SEC schools that instead of opting to have your game televised on either the SC Network or SC Network Plus, they're going for the 30-minute spring recap. Where guess what? You can control what goes into that so nothing gets out. A&M and Oklahoma are the only two SEC teams actually televising their spring games.
Yeah, we've talked at length on here about what that 30-minute recap will probably be.
Nothing.
There'll be a narrator, and they'll be talking about the spring. There'll be some clips of Lenora Sellers, some miscellaneous hits, Shane in front of the team.
Opening shot, cameras on the ground, looking at the Spurrier Indoor facility.
Yeah.
A couple blades of grass flying as a drill's going on in the background.
Sounds good.
That's how you open.
Sounds like you're ready to direct it. Sounds like you're ready to go.
I can direct this thing.
Sounds like you're ready to go. So, yeah, that's sort of the access thing. But I did have my personal perspective changed a little bit. I was in a store. I had my Gamecock hat on as usual. Was talking to a woman in the store, and she was saying how she was taking her son and her family were going to the game tonight.
Yep.
And her son is 9 years old, and he's a huge Gamecock fan. And it just got me in the idea of like, oh, yeah, that's what the spring game is all about. That's what the spring game is for. It's a service to families, friends, fans that are around the team to have the game in a low-pressure environment, and you can get – it's the spring game for the fans.
Yeah.
And it jarred my memory because I've been down on spring games also, but I was like, oh, yeah,
sure,
that's why it's supposed to happen.
And Beamer has mentioned that even earlier on this week talking to the media that this is for the fans. Like that's one thing that's kind of got lost in the shuffle of all this with so many coaches that talking about, well, they're tampering and we don't want this getting out, but nobody's thinking about the tens of thousands of people that look forward to this every single spring for not just a chance to see your football team. It's nice weather. Get outside, do something fun on a Saturday or a Friday night, whatever it may be.
And it's free.
And you're taking that away from them in a lot of senses by not having anything. Yeah, I get it. Some programs are doing, skills challenges and playing dodgeball and those kind of things. Okay, that's fine, I guess. But there's nothing quite like seeing actual simulated football being played like we will tonight.
Yeah, and then there's the aspect of, and when you say it's for the fans, I'm sorry if it's 621. If you're listening to the show and you are a fan, thank you for listening. But maybe not you, the fan. talking to fans that are under 12.
Yeah.
The 10-year-old fans, the young fans, the fans that can appreciate the opportunity to see these athletes compete. Not you, Mr. Analytics or grizzled old veteran who's seen 10 spring games. Maybe it's not for you specifically.
And you work with kids, so you know today's younger kids, introducing them to something is a lot more challenging than it used to be.
For sure.
So if you take a kid, let's say 8, 9 years old, to their first ever game, and it's a Saturday against LSU or something last year, and there's a lot of drunk people, and people are aggressive and loud and all that kind of stuff, they might get scared away from that pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
Say, you know what, I don't want to be involved in this.
Correct.
I don't want to go to this anymore. But you take them to a laid-back spring game where nobody's overly rowdy. Everybody's just enjoying having a good time and appreciating the fact that we have football in front of us.
Yeah.
That's a great way to introduce a kid to the sport.
Absolutely. And again, just having that conversation jarred my memory. Like, oh yeah, that's what this is supposed to be about. So glad that they're having the opportunity. For the folks that are going to lay eyes on the team, there will be some things to see. I've mentioned earlier, when we talked to Jamie Bradford earlier in the week, I think the thing that you look at in spring games for me is you just kind of watch the trench work. You see what's going on in the line, on the line. Can guys block? There will be missed assignments. There will be blown things that happen because it's the spring.
Sure.
But you get a chance to see sort of how guys work. So if we're laying out the spring game, Tyler, is there any body or unit that you are specifically looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, probably the linebackers. That's what kind of stands out the most to me. And look, we've heard a lot of good things about J.R. Johnson, who's obviously been here for a year already. Sean Murphy, Justin Okoronkwo. I'm getting better at saying that name. Those kind of, Okoronkwo. Or if you can go the Clayton White route and just call him J.O. I think a lot of people will do that. Or Justin O.
As long as he's cool with it, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, so again, you're replacing a lot of experienced production in the middle of that defense from a year ago, and I just want to see what they look like. And I've said this several times this week. It was in the spring game last year that I think we all noticed Demetrius Knight, like, dude, this guy's fast.
Yeah.
And he can go everywhere. And he's all over the place. And he's in coverage and all those kind of things. And it kind of backed up what we saw in the Charlotte tape. Now, again, we take everything in the spring game with a grain of salt because there's inevitably going to be somebody that does something amazing tonight that you will not hear their name called one single time this fall.
Right.
So be kind of cautious with those kind of things. But I think for the linebackers, if it is indeed those three guys in the middle of the defense, how do they do? How do they look? Like that's because we have so many questions, especially on defense, about so many position groups. But that's one that kind of stands out to me.
Yeah, and those guys came back last year. They were veterans coming back with Debo, and then we learned about Demetrius Knight in that particular game. I think to be Captain Obvious, it can't go without stating, aside from the Norris, I'm excited to see who the quarterbacks will be, what they look like.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's obvious. That's an obvious answer, but I do think seeing the difference in style and play between Aaron Nolan, Cutter Woods, and Dante Reno, I think you have three different types of quarterbacks, and it's going to be interesting to see who has sort of risen, got themselves, or what that competition looks like.
And I know it's our natural inclination to think that it is Aaron Nolan at number 2. Hearing a lot of good things about Cutter Woods.
Tyler, I heard one of my favorite phrases. Somebody said, the ball looks different coming out of his hand.
Now, as a football player yourself, what does that mean to you? Define that for the rest of us common folk.
You know what? I like to poo-poo on cliches a lot.
You hate quarterbacks anyway, right?
Of course. And I like to poo-poo on cliches a lot, but I'm going to tell you that one.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. When I saw Spencer Rattler throw for the first time, I was like,
got some zip.
Something looks different about that. And for Spencer, and I haven't seen Cutter, and I'm not really aware of what I think he's maybe a little bit tall and wiry a little bit if I have his, maybe in the mind frame of Blake Mitchell.
Okay.
Gamecock legend.
Oh, I remember.
Yep. So I think maybe he has that sort of mind. But when I saw Spencer for the first time, I could not get over it. He's the only word I could use was like petite.
Yeah.
He's kind of a small dude, and he could just throw the ball so fast and so hard. It was almost like physics. It was defying physics.
You see Spencer out of pads, and he's not like this overwhelming physical presence. You're like, this dude? But yeah, he can zip it.
Yeah,
and now he's playing in the NFL.
So I guess what that means, if we was to get technical about that, it probably means he can make some of the professional throws, the out routes, or something. Not necessarily on the deep ball. So I think everybody at this level could probably throw a decent deep ball. But when you see guys throwing out routes, or you see guys really, really throwing before running back, wide receivers come out of their breaks, and you're starting to see things like that, or you see how tight the spiral is, or things like that. it is true that some guys have a better looking ball than others.
That is the thing about quarterback play. And like you said, everybody can throw the ball really, really far these days, more often than not. And everybody can dump it off to a running back or a tight end in the flat. What can you do in the intermediate?
Mm-hmm.
It's those middle areas of the field that really separate quarterbacks.
Yeah, and that's where you'll start to see some folks separated. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to just see a little bit at that. Last year in the spring game, unfortunately, we didn't see a lot of that. There was a lot of dink and dunks and things of that nature, which is fine. But I think in the spring game, where we're going, again, low pressure environment, let's see some of these throws. Let's see some of these quarterbacks air it out, because that's going to be the separator for these guys, and we'll see what they do. So we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about the spring game. But like I said, I just had my opinion. I got snapped back to reality, like, oh, yeah, this is for the kids. This is a thing that can happen. So we'll cover a little bit more about that. All right, coming back up, I think we're going to have Bill from Lexington calling in. We're going to talk a little bit baseball. It's been tough to talk baseball around here, but while we have a chance to talk about a dub.
For today, at least.
We're going to do this for today, at least. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about baseball. This is the early game.
Oh, speaking of baseball, by the way, is Game 2 in action later on this afternoon, not tonight, this afternoon because of the spring game. First pitch at 4 o'clock, pregame coverage starting at 3:45. That'll be on our sister station, 98.5 WOMG. It's also your next opportunity to win some money with the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Been telling you about it all season. You know the rules by now. Anytime a Gamecock batter hits a Grand Slam, you could win all the money in the pot. Giving away a couple already this year. Go online to 1075game.com if you're not already and register for yourself for the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. And if somebody can crank a Grand Slam tonight, Bill and Preston will be giving away some more money come the beginning of next week. Again, 1075game.com, Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway.
Hardscrabble at Wilson Boulevard. You'll find an accident there. Also, Kennerly near Laurent Way. That's at the traffic circle there, kind of Steeple Ridge, Kugler, an accident there. Also, Old Hilton Road at Chapin Road. So a few areas to be mindful of this morning. It is Friday. We have a beautiful forecast on the way. Sunny 84. Breezy tomorrow, going to be 88. 86 on Sunday. Next chance for some rain activity. Might see some evening storms on Tuesday, and then chances for scattered showers for a couple days. But right now, we'll start off your Friday at about 51 on 107.5 The Game.
Welcome back into the early game. It's Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. Big sports weekend this weekend. We just talked about the spring game, which will be going on tonight. 7:30 start at Williams-Brice. Not sure whether it'll be a kickoff or the team's offense is trotting onto the field, but they will be starting around then. So that'll be fun. But prior to that, there will be a baseball game.
Yes.
In which, Tyler, you mentioned you have a chance to maybe see something that has not happened before in 2025.
Yeah, the beating a Power 4 opponent in a series. Obviously, starting with the Clemson series and going all the way through A&M last weekend, you have not beaten a non-mid-major opponent in a series all year.
Yeah. So this is an opportunity to take the series.
You win this game or tomorrow, preferably tonight, just get it out of the way.
Get it out the way.
Then, yeah, you have your first series win. And kind of in the debate that we've had now that you kind of turn the page in the back half of the SEC play, knowing that outside of winning, 10 out of your last 15 games, you're probably not going to go to the postseason. What are you playing for? Maneri said the other day, we're not trying to be anybody's spoiler. Okay, are you just trying to feel better about yourself by winning a series? Well, you can do that tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's that specific point right there, which makes Brandon Stone's performance last night even greater. Because I say it a lot on here. I know we like to think of athletes as being robots.
Sure.
But, man, when you're on a team that's having a disappointing – it's one thing to be on a terrible team, but it's probably another thing, and it's even harder to be on a team that's having a disappointing season. You thought you may have going to be one thing, and you end up not being that. It's very easy and very convenient for players to check out, start looking the other way, grass is greener on the side, all of those types of things. So for Brandon Stone to have the complete game performance last night and show the courage on the mound that he did, I really do – think that is very commendable.
Isn't it amazing what happens when you throw strikes?
That's the thing, Tyler. It's funny that you should say that, because last night, compared to the other games, there was only one base on ball.
Yes. One
walk given up. And we've been talking about, hey, when you're not very good, you can't give your opponent extra opportunities. And that's what they've been doing through walks, errors, and they didn't do either one of those last night.
In 6 of the 9 innings pitched last night, he faced the minimum 3 batters. There's a couple double plays in there, so some guys got on, but you turned into double plays. So in 6 of 9 innings, you faced the bare minimum coming to the plate.
Yeah, and it was just a matter of throwing strikes. And if you listen to the broadcast, and I was listening to the recap, you just heard, and there's another ground ball. And another ground ball, and another ground ball. And so he was throwing to contact, and it felt like the old school baseball, like, make them hit ground balls, make the play in the field.
Rely on your defense, which has been good for the most part this year. And that's something that Maneri talked about going into the season. Like, we don't think we have a bunch of high-leverage strikeout guys. We're going to be pitching to contact. We're going to rely on our defense, and that's exactly what happened last night.
Jen, this is clip 11. Let's hear Coach Maneri talk about Brandon's performance last night.
I wish I knew he was going to go 9. I was trying to recall. Of course, I've been gone for 3 years, but I'm trying to remember the last time I had a pitcher go 9 innings in a game. I mean, you don't see that very often, but he's so efficient. I think he only threw like 25 pitches out of the strike zone tonight. Most of his pitches were strikes. I want to say he had I don't know if it was 70 or so strikes, 65 strikes, something like that.
61 strikes.
Yeah, 61 strikes. And so, when a guy is ahead of the hitters constantly, and, the only time he got hurt was when he threw off-speed pitches and left them up in the zone. Those were the only balls, the 2 home runs, and I'm not sure he gave up a hit on his fastball, to be honest with you. His fastball was sinking, but it was in the strike zone the whole night, and it had good velocity, and listen, where we positioned the guy was very important, because when Brandon pitches, he's not going to strike out a ton of batters. But he's going to make them pound it into the ground, and sometimes they'll hit it a little bit hard, but into the ground. And if you're in the right positions, then we got a chance to make the plays, and the guys all made the plays tonight. That first batter of the 9th inning was a little uncharacteristic. I think. I wish Scope would have come and got that ball, because it went straight down off the bat. But I think it kind of surprised him coming from a left-handed hitter that way, and it just kind of took a little tricky hop on him. But, I felt that Furness was I was really tempted to go with Crowther against Furness, because in his splits, he's much better against right-handed pitching than left-handed pitching. But if I'd have gone to Crowther, I didn't know if Mike would have brought one of his right-handed hitters off the bench. So I liked the matchup of Brandon against Furness more than I liked the Crowther against a right-handed hitter.
You're 61 in the zone, so if you just do your math very quickly, that's 86 pitches in 9 innings.
Very efficient. He and the 2 runs that he gave up were solo homers, which you'll take. It's better than giving up 3 and 4, grand slams and stuff like that. He was 2 better pitches away from having a Maddox. You're familiar with the Maddox?
Wait, I don't think I know this term.
You don't know about a Maddox?
No.
So let me get the proper definition up for you. Make sure I'm saying this right. If you go a full 9 innings of shutout pitching in fewer than 100 pitches,
that feels right. And that makes a lot of sense. He had some room to work with, and so your first thing when you think about a complete game is like, oh man, he was probably up in the hundreds. What's the pitch count? All that type of stuff. No, but it then goes back to this idea of throwing the contact, letting your players make plays, having solid defense behind them. And there's sort of a recipe for success there if you wanted to continue to pitch like that.
Yeah, so the official definition for Maddox is when a pitcher throws a shutout of 9 or more innings with fewer than 100 pitches. Again, that was a signature of Maddox back in the day.
Of course.
And he'd go out there and throw 75 pitches and be in and out of there in an hour and a half. It felt like.
And that's what you want out of a baseball game. And the game was so fast, it was so rapid. It was a great game to watch. So I do think that's something that they can build on. Obviously, they didn't do anything special to win that game. What do you know? You throw strikes, you make plays in the field, you get a couple of hits. You can win against teams. And I think maybe this shows us that they haven't really been giving themselves opportunities to win by giving up so many walks, by making, and they've been all right in the field.
Sure.
But I think it's the walks more so than anything else, which has really been a problem for this pitching staff.
The most frustrating thing in the world is when you've already walked a couple guys onto the bases, and then you're walking guys across the plate. And we've seen that too many times this year for what we expected this pitching staff to be. That's unacceptable. And again, you get to the point in the season, you have what you have. You can't go out there and find new talent or trade for anybody like you can in the pros. So you have to ride with what you have to ride with. But very refreshing to see that kind of pitching performance out of Stone last night.
Now, does that performance for Stone, does that cement him in to that spot in the rotation? I know we've seen a lot of change-ups and a lot of different rotations. Does that make his spot solidified?
For now. Unless, Kentucky's next week. If he goes out there and gets shelled next Friday night, then maybe we have a different conversation. But for now, he's got to be your weekend opener.
That at least earns him that opportunity.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I believe it earns him that opportunity. It's the best performance we've seen all year. It's the 3rd inning. You come back out, it's the bottom of the 4th. You're like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing to do. But it sounded like there was a decent crowd out there. I don't know what the numbers look like, but at least it was a spirited. The people who were there were involved, and so kudos to them.
I will say, watching on TV, I did notice at one point, I was like, that's a better crowd than I thought there would be.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It wasn't packed to the gills,
right.
But
it probably shouldn't be.
It was decent. For a team that was 2-13 in conference play going into last night, it was a decent crowd.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I picked up over the broadcast. I was like, oh, they're pretty spirited out there, for the game. Maybe it's because the game was moving fast. Maybe it's because they were winning. Maybe it's because he was throwing he was throwing strikes, so all those things working together, it felt like the crowd was out there. So I don't know if people are making a plan to do a double header tonight, whether you go into the baseball game, then go into the football game, that could be an opportunity.
If you get an efficient enough pitching performance, you can get out of the baseball game by 6 and make it over to the stadium in plenty of time.
You might be able to do that. So kudos to the baseball team. Big win last night, looking to take on the series. When we come back, we'll honor a legend. Lee Corso has retired. We'll have a little bit of conversation about that. This is the early game. Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, it's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will take care of it for you. If you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you could do that with new windows, mirrors, even shower enclosures. As I say all the time, if you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
As we've been talking about, it is a very loaded weekend for Gamecock sports. I want to let you know where you can find all the action here on the game. Later on today, baseball is going to get things started with game number 2 against Ole Miss. Pregame at 3:45 with a 4 o'clock first pitch on our sister station, 98.5 WOMG. You can also listen to that at 100.3 The Game out in Myrtle Beach. Tonight, Gamecock spring game, pregame coverage at 6:30 for a 7:30 start, kickoff, however you want to phrase it, with Wes, Chris, Elijah Campbell, Terry Ford, and Chris Miller on the call as well, right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia. And tomorrow's baseball game, wrapping up the series against Ole Miss, a 1:30 pregame right here on 107.5 The Game. That's how you can catch all the action this weekend here on The Game.
Every Saturday morning during the college football season, Lee Corso's iconic headgear picks have been a staple leading into a full day's worth of games. But how did they come to be? In 1996, while College Game Day was at Ohio State, Corso had fellow analyst Kirk Herbstreit ask his wife Allison, a former Buckeyes cheerleader, if she'd be willing to talk to the school's cheerleading advisor to see if he could put on Brutus's famous mascot head. And after some heavy negotiations, history was made. From roasting Ugga,
but that dog is ugly. Give me this thing here.
To the rare four-letter word.
And if you've grown up like we've all grown up, we know that Lee Corso is, I don't know, the linchpin of college football, maybe?
He is college football.
He is college football.
There's no debating that.
It's really interesting as this plays out because I talked earlier in the week about Dick Vitale being college basketball, and now you have Lee Corso, and obviously our legends, obviously they get older as they are to do, and so we have to enjoy them while they're here. But if you didn't know, Lee Corso has made it official that he is retiring, and I believe the first game of the year will be his first game, will be the last game.
Yeah, it'll be week 1. I'm assuming, because there's another game overseas, I think in Ireland again, so he's probably not traveling to that one. So week 1 proper, when Carolina's playing, Virginia Tech on that Sunday, will be when he does his final farewell show. And it's almost kind of fitting that it's week 1 because you're focusing on the games, but you're also kind of talking about just everything generally at that point in time. I think that's kind of perfect to give a proper send-off, farewell show, bring in a bunch of guests, play a bunch of highlights of all of his time there on College Game Day, and give him that what's going to be a very emotional send-off at the end of the end of the show. Yeah,
there won't be any dry eyes in the college football nation on that one.
More tears, him or Herbstreit.
Or Preston. I don't know.
Or Preston.
I don't know.
All of us.
That's gonna be a rough one. Everybody's just gonna take one collective breath as we look at it. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Let's get out to the phone lines. We usually don't take phone calls during this segment, but we got Bill from Lexington. Bill from Lexington. What do you think about Lee Corso retiring, sir?
Yeah. It's about time. It's about time, but it's going to be a sad day. I think the 3 games they're looking at, I think y'all were talking about, is Texas, Ohio State, Clemson, LSU's on the radar, I guess, and Florida State, Alabama. So maybe they'll go down and let him do the Florida State, Alabama game instead of Texas, Ohio State, since he was the Sunshine Scooter down there.
Well, he also, as we heard in the clip there, put on Brutus the Buckeyes for his headgear. Does he have an opportunity to bookend the headgear selections by putting Brutus on again?
That actually is a better point than the one I just made, so I'll go with you on that. That works perfect. I do wonder, what they do. Obviously, he won't be part of the show, but I was talking to somebody last night about this. I mean, you know how ESPN is. Would it surprise you if they go down there and they have somebody just go film him every week from his home to just at the very end, he does a little headgear. So, I mean, obviously he's not going to be a part of the show. He hadn't really been, but you just think about it, they're like, all right, let's go to Corso's pick, and they just show you a video of him, saying 2 words and putting on something.
It wouldn't be the same.
Yeah,
I think you have to end it with the show, right?
Yeah, I believe you end it with the last one. You go out on a bang, let the folks cheer, and let it end like that.
Yeah, y'all are probably right. So big day. Obviously, I called a little bit of y'all this morning talking victory last night. Am I crazy, or was that has to go down as one of the fastest baseball games ever for the University of South Carolina?
First time they've gone under 2 hours since 2014, I believe.
Okay, yes, that was unrealistically fast last night, and obviously a big performance. And I did get a message from somebody late last night telling me Jeremy Wallace, who listens to the show, said, book it, they are hosting a regional. So Preston,
okay.
Jeremy Wallace, write that down for him. We will hold him accountable for that, because if he is right about that, he gets a 107.5 the game T-shirt or something for calling that at 3-13. That is Gamecock Larry-esque type positivity right there.
Are we not mathematically eliminated from that already?
Not technically.
Not technically?
Yeah, no, I mean, no, Tyler's right. I mean, you could win 14 more in a row and be 17-13. And I think if you win 17 straight, would it be about 16 straight now is what I said after you left yesterday. I said yesterday, this team, the back half, they've got to go 11-4. No, absolutely no worse than 11-4. So we'll see. But I know we'll catch up with y'all. We're on the road to the Heritage Schroeder's Towing Road Show. Rolls along, I guess, and off to the Heritage today to see if I can give Justin Thomas a few more pointers so that he can shoot 11 under instead of 10 under.
All right, well, when we catch back up with you a little bit later, we'll be talking WrestleMania, so get your notes together.
I'll work on it now. We'll talk to y'all shortly.
All right. That was Bill from Lexington. This is the early game. See you in a second.
Still working a couple of earlier tie-ups. Hardscrabble Road at Wilson Boulevard, Old Hilton Road at Chapin Road, and Kennerly Road near Laurent Way right there at the traffic circle, Steep Ridge and Kugler. So a couple areas you might want to be mindful of this morning. And boy, we have a nice forecast on the way. But hopefully you can get out and enjoy it a little bit. Sunny and 84 today, breezy and warm tomorrow, 88. 86 for your Easter Sunday. Right now, 51 on 107.5 The Game.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. If you're just joining us, welcome. If you've been with us, stay along. We got more to talk about. Big sports weekend. A lot of sports happening today specifically, but over the weekend there will be a lot of things going on. So let's recount yesterday. First and foremost, huge dub for the baseball team.
Yes, you can't go 15-0 in the last 15 games without starting 1-0.
That is a thing. One game at a time.
1-0
pitch at a
mentality.
time. 1-0 mentality. Whatever you want to say, however you want to get yourself to that point. Baseball goes out. Big victory, huge win, performance of a lifetime, honestly.
Yeah.
From Brandon Stone. It's one he'll remember forever, for sure.
Yeah, and again, it's so rare in today's age for anybody at any level to go a full game, and great performance for him last night.
Complete game, 86 pitches, was in full command, pitching to contact. If you like old school fundamental baseball, this was a game for you.
That's right.
It was a fantastic game, so kudos to them for winning that game. Another opportunity to take a series tonight.
Yep.
Another opportunity to take a series tonight. And that'll be the opening act, appetizer, whatever you want to call it.
The not preview, the lead-in.
Lead-in. Okay, that'll work. It'll be the lead-in for the spring game, which will be happening tonight, starting at 7:30 at Williams-Brice. So it'll be a big night. And again, as I said earlier during the 6 o'clock hour, I've been as guilty as everyone of sort of poo-pooing spring games. I think the Grinch was out when Matt Rule sort of jumped the gun and was talking about tampering and all this stuff. And I was like, man, and I've been on the kick of like, I think they're trying to quietly phase out the idea of the spring game. And I get it.
Should we give Matt Rule more grace? Because if he had to work with Marcus Satterfield every day, wouldn't you be in a bad mood too?
He hired him.
And then demoted him.
Which shows another clip on that, which may be a little bit coming later. That's evergreen content. We'll always have that in the pocket. But yeah, Matt sort of jumped out the window. He was the first to be on it.
Yeah.
And maybe he just gets more ire because he was first, and maybe he was just saying the quiet part out loud.
I think it was for a lot of coaches.
So
I feel the same way, but Matt said it.
So I'm gonna give him grace for that. Maybe he just said what everybody else was thinking, but the spring game is kind of being phased out in college football around whether teams are doing, whether they're not having them, whether they're having alternative events, fan fest, or whatever the case is. But I was talking to a woman in the UPS store, and she was saying how her 8-year-old son was super excited about being able to come to the spring game. He's a huge Gamecock fan, and that's all the things that he wanted. And he's sort of in that obsessive range when you get to around that age. And it just made me think like, oh yeah, that's what these games are for. It's for the young fan base.
And let's be honest, there are some people that may not be able to afford to go to a proper game coming up in the fall. You know, tickets are expensive, and obviously parking and food and all that kind of stuff, that may not be in every fan's or every, family's budget necessarily. But free game on a Friday night, tight 2 hours. Again, you're not having to deal with an entire full crowd. Perfect. And that's something that, unfortunately, I think a lot of coaches have lost sight of when it comes to this.
Yeah, you can't lose sight of that. And again, not only the full crowd, but the pressure-packed crowd, right? It's going to be it's a laid-back environment. People are going to be cheering. Everybody's generally in a good mood. Because
guess what? South Carolina can't lose tonight.
The Guarded or Black team will win the game tonight. So that is going to be an event. If you can get out there, cool. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see it. You won't be able to see it on TV because they will not be broadcasting it, as most teams are not. I believe you said 14 out of the 16.
Yeah, 14
teams.
out of the 16. So A&M and Oklahoma, which I think both of those are actually this weekend, are the only two you can actually properly watch on television. In years past in spring games, I'm not going to sit down and watch every single one, but hey, let me watch a few minutes of Florida, a few minutes of Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, just because these are the teams that get talked about the most. Let me see what they have. What players do I need to know? And now that's not really an option for a lot of these. I really wanted to watch Tennessee's last weekend, especially with the Nico fallout, but guess what? It wasn't on TV.
That story is going to be very interesting to follow because while I think a lot of people applauded Josh Heupel for taking a stand and beating his chest, when they're 4-4 in week 8, and the quarterback's struggling, well, it's going to be interesting.
They now have to go find a quarterback in the portal or hope that Jake Merklinger ends up being a star.
We'll see. I would imagine a lot of people's morals might be compromised once they see them losing the first 3 games of the season.
Nico wasn't the savior necessarily, but he's better than this.
Well, yeah, we like I said, we'll see about that. WrestleMania.
Yes. Oh, I'm so
2-day
excited.
extravaganza. Tyler, are you ready?
Here's the funny thing. My wife has gotten really into wrestling.
Nice.
Our wedding anniversary is coming up on Tuesday, so we're going to celebrate our anniversary this weekend. Going to go to Hall's Chop House for the first time. I've never been.
Nice.
Looking forward to that. And we are planning our anniversary weekend around watching WrestleMania because I've gotten her that into wrestling.
That's good. That's actually real love.
It is.
That's real love.
When Cody Rhodes was here last year and I interviewed him for my show, I mentioned that. I was like, she was like in tears when you won at WrestleMania last year, and he was like, "Oh, she's in." I was like, "Oh, she's in, all right."
That's nice.
She's hooked.
That's nice. Now, with that being said, we'll come back and talk a little WrestleMania a little bit later. But that being said, Cody Rhodes does have a big part this weekend coming up.
The main event on Sunday night of night 2.
Because it's a 2-night event.
It's a 2-night thing. You're not aware of that?
I do know. I just think that's something that's maybe if people are just getting into or they might be a little confused about that.
That started during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So in COVID, which would have been WrestleMania 36 in Tampa, it didn't happen in Tampa. It happened at the Performance Center. They're like, there's nothing else going on in the entire world right now.
Yep.
Let's make this 2 nights. And it's just kind of stuck from there.
Yeah, they were definitely one of the sports organizations that forged.
They never stopped.
Ahead. They kept
continued
going and took a lot. Obviously they had all the precautions and they did everything. But kudos for them for the way they kept.
By the way, wrestling in front of no fans to silence, very weird.
Well, yeah, and that just shows you how great of performers they are.
Yes,
because a little bit behind the curtain. One of the things that I found that's really difficult about radio is that there's nobody there.
Yeah,
and so I don't know whether the things that I'm saying are landing. At least when I was teaching, I can gauge. I can see somebody falling asleep in the front row, and I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe it's time to correct course here. But when you're doing radio, you don't know. So imagine as a wrestler, you're waiting for the pop.
Sure.
It's not happening.
It is funny you mentioned that because when we give away tickets or ask people to call in, and I see the phone line light up, I'm like, oh, people are listening. Okay.
That's the only clue that you get that actually anybody is listening. So, yeah, doing it in front of nobody is there. So yeah, WrestleMania 2-day event. What is the main event?
The main event is Cody Rhodes and John Cena on Sunday night.
Cody Rhodes, John Cena, and if you're not familiar, John Cena has done something that
on the dark side.
We would think it was unfathomable. What's going on with John Cena?
He is a bad guy. He has turned heel, to use a wrestling term, sided with The Rock, and stabbed Cody Rhodes in the back at Elimination Chamber.
How could he?
Here's the thing. Because John Cena has been the white meat babyface good guy for the past 20 years. Find some time this weekend. It's on the WWE YouTube channel. Go find some of his promos he's done since the heel turn. There's like 3 or 4 of them where he just eviscerates the audience and just tells us how terrible we are. Fantastic stuff.
Okay.
It's amazing.
So he's all the way in.
Oh, he's all the way in. I give him a round of applause because this is farewell tour. He's retiring this year.
Wait.
Yeah.
Real retirement or wrestling retirement?
John Cena, and again, John Cena's been in Hollywood for a while now. He's going to fully immerse himself in Hollywood going forward. 2025 is his final year as a professional wrestler. And as big of a star as he is, he could have just played the hits and got out of here, re-racked some old rivalries, made everybody happy, signed autographs and kissed babies and all that kind of stuff. But he's doing something different. And I commend him for that because nobody saw this coming, which is what makes this so compelling.
So there it is. We'll have a little bit more WrestleMania talk. As you can tell, Tyler's excited. He getting me excited. I'm excited to see how this happens. But tonight, the spring game is tonight. And
yes.
Tyler, something happened which I knew would happen, and I have an issue with it.
Okay.
Something happened in the drafting of the teams, and if you were listening to the show yesterday, I told you all this was going to happen, and whoever the GM is, they made a bad pick.
Bad play.
I'll let you all know what that is coming back. This is the early game.
You know, they say perfection is a journey. Well, our journey, it led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. We needed some countertops to go on some cabinets in an upstairs bathroom and in our master bath. And we were recommended to head up there, so we toured their showroom. It was great. They talked to us about their commitment to affordable marble and granite and quartz. Everything is sculpted with the highest craftsmanship and delivered, I can assure you, with professional results. We had such a great experience with them. They helped us figure out exactly what countertops we need. We weren't sure. And so once we got all of that done, of course, had the home visit for measuring, and then the installation process, everything was flawless. You need to check out their showroom and their outdoor hardscapes showroom as well. So much they can do for you. If you're in the market for countertops for your kitchen or bath, visit carolinastonecraftsman.com. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. Just beyond Columbia in Chapin and beyond your expectations, I assure you, it's carolinastonecraftsman.com. I-26 eastbound before Broad River Road might just be a little bit of a slowdown, a car off to the side. An accident, Kennerly Road near Laurent Way, right there at the traffic circle. Still a little bit of a slowdown there due to an earlier tie-up. Other accidents that we'd mentioned before have all been cleared. Good news there. Sunny and 84, that's what we're looking for today. Breezy, 88 tomorrow, 86. On Sunday, we're staying in the 80s for the foreseeable future. Chance for some rain might be coming in Tuesday evening where we could see a few thunderstorms. But right now, starting off the morning, I'm sure it'll warm up quickly. It's 52 right now on the early game.
Lenora Sellers.
What a mistake.
Tried to warn them.
What a mistake. If they apparently, whoever the GM is, I don't know whether it's Demo or Wheezy or whoever's doing the picks for those teams, they didn't listen to the show yesterday.
Apparently not.
I told everybody, welcome in, Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen, early game. I told everybody yesterday, Tyler, there's an obvious pick that everybody thinks they want to make for this spring game because they're drafting teams. You would think that the first pick would be Lenora Sellers, and they did Lenora Sellers. But as I told you all yesterday, bad pick.
Yeah, so I went back and looked at last year's spring game, and both offenses ran 60 plays.
Mm-hmm.
How many plays do you think Lenora Sellers is going to be in for tonight?
That's exactly why this is a terrible pick. You can't pick Lenora Sellers first because he's not going to be playing.
Right.
And as us as Gamecock fans, we don't want Lenora Sellers playing in this game. I don't even care if he was dressed out.
Well, we know what we have.
We're cool. Lenora, you can wear a jersey for all I'm concerned. And so if we're picking Lenora Sellers as your first pick, you wasted a valuable pick if you're trying to win. I would imagine that the first pick would have been, and I did get a little bit of clue in there, I did see Boaz get picked pretty early according to the video also, so I'm not sure what they were doing with that. But if I'm the GM, whether I'm Demo or Wheezy or whoever's in charge, you got to pick the guy who's winning the quarterback competition.
You would think.
But not Lenora's.
Right.
The next guy.
Yeah. And that's what I think we were kind of hoping for is like, hey, if Aaron Nolan's the number one pick, who's talked about, whether you have depth chart or not, the guys in the locker room know who's leading that right now.
Yes.
And I keep checking. As of right now, we haven't gotten the full rosters for these teams. We do know that one team has a lot of quarterbacks on it, and one team only has two. But, yeah, I think we're all interested to see what they would do with the number one pick, assuming it wasn't Lenora's, but they decided to go chalk and go with Lenora's.
So if we have GM Tyler here, right, GM Tyler, what are you going to do with your spring game pick? Are you going heavy offense? You going heavy defense? Assuming that we're trying to win this game.
That is interesting because the thing that's always gets said, which we assume tonight, is the defense is ahead of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
So do I want more offense to combat that? Do I don't want to just smother them with defense? That's a really good question.
It's a conundrum, right? Because you say, okay, if we already assume that the defense is ahead of the offense, then maybe you would also assume that you don't need to pick all of the better defensive players because you might be able to get more value for defensive players later in the draft.
Well, I can tell you Team Black is really going heavy on the offense because, and this is according to Lulu Kesson, who was listening to Coach Beer on Carolina Calls last night, Team Black has Lenora Sellers, Aaron Nolan, and Cutter Woods. Team Garnet has Dante Reno and Luke Doty.
I don't know. Did they snake this draft? I don't know how this works.
I don't know. And, again, we don't have the full rosters here. We only got the little clips they played last night. Yeah.
Chiming in.
And, again, you might have heard that on Carolina Calls here last night on the game. But, yeah, some interesting strategy by Team Black on how they went about the quarterback.
Well, let's do this. Jen, can we get clip 7 here? This is Shane talking about reviewing the drafts for the teams.
Yeah, the draft was awesome. It's one of my favorite nights of the year in our program. Total team effort with the way that our entire department, video, recruiting, nutrition, everyone, equipment, the way that we set it up, everybody has a hand in it. And it was very, very, very competitive, the draft. And then tomorrow night, we always pick 2 head coaches. And last year it was Larry Waters, our head of equipment, and Yimi Rodriguez, that's in charge of nutrition. And then this year it's George Wynn, our director of football operations, and Derek Moore, our director of character development. And they're into it.
Massively competitive guys.
Massively competitive. Yeah, they had their own war rooms last night. And I couldn't even go in one of them. I mean, they had the doors shut and everything. So one team went with star power, with their picks. That would be the black team. That's when the one Lenoris is on.
I was shocked he was picked first.
Yeah, well, there's strategy involved because you got to say to yourself, how long is Lenoris going to play? And
right.
He's probably not going to be in the game in the fourth quarter. Just getting that out there. So, I think I would look for offensive fireworks early from the black team while Lenoris is in there. But there have been some interesting picks. The other team said they built their roster for the fourth quarter, and I can see what they did, and their strategy. The black team loaded up on quarterbacks. They took Aaron Nolan, Cutter Woods, and Lenoris.
Oh my gosh!
Where the Garnet team felt good, they're going with Luke Doty and Dante Reno and Jimmy Francis. But it's competitive and more intensity than I could imagine or remember with the draft. But it's fun the way that our guys do it, Justin King and everybody. They do a great job putting it on social media.
I want to know one thing. You mentioned the thing about the quarterbacks again. Did Team Black draft all three of their quarterbacks and Team Garnet be like, oh, I guess we got to get Dante Reno? And is that telling us that Reno is now number 4 in order here? Or was it a back and forth thing?
That's the thing. So, I guess they didn't know what the strategy was. So you see them get Lenora Sellers, and then immediately I would have gotten the next guy. I don't know who the next guy is, but I would have, if I was on the side, I would have gotten the next guy. I'm going to tell you, though, Luke Doty, though I don't think he's going to contribute a lot to the quarterback room this season, hopefully not, right?
Yeah.
All things being great. Sneaky good pick for the spring game.
Yeah, because you can use him in a variety of ways.
Sneaky good pick for the spring game.
Yeah, and from what we learned in spring practice, he's still doing both. We kind of thought, hey, this is finally the year where you can go and focus on being a wide receiver. But again, Dante Reno is the only one of these guys that's ever played a competitive snap of college football. So, and I brought this point up as well. If, God forbid, knock on wood, it doesn't happen, Lenore Sellers were to go down against Virginia Tech, maybe Luke Doty comes in. You know what I mean? Because he actually has starting experience in college football.
That's why I said he's a sneaky good pick.
Is he your better long-term option? Probably not. But in a pinch, especially at the early part of the season, he might be the go-to.
Yeah, that's why I said sneaky good pick for that as far as the spring game is concerned. We'll see how it goes. The only issue with this is that if you're playing for the fourth quarter, if you're a vet of spring games like I am, like we all are probably listening to this, you know that sometimes fourth quarters could be out of hand by then.
Yeah.
Right? Last year, I think, was last year the tie?
No, last year was 17-0.
17-0?
Black.
Okay.
The year before, it wasn't a tie, but they did like the 2-point conversion thing, and one of the walk-on running backs scored on that one.
So that's the only thing about drafting for the fourth quarter of a spring game is because it might be out of hand by then. So maybe there was a strategy, and they told Lenoris, like, hey, you're going to play 2 drives.
Yeah.
And on these 2 drives, we're going to drop back and we're going to throw it far. All right, I would like to know who his wide receivers are or what the case. We're going to throw it far. And that's going to be it.
And whether those drives goes 10 plays or it's a 3 and out, that's all you're getting.
That's it, because we don't want to risk anything along those lines. So I am interested to see how the teams shake out. But like I say, for the spring game, for me personally, your best bet is to watch the trenches.
Sure.
See who's doing well in there. See some of those young guys on the O-line. See if they can hold their own. See those guys on the D-line because there's a lot of places to replace folks. And I think that's where you'll get your best value as far as evaluating the team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's going to be mixed rosters. So, one collection of guys in a group doesn't mean that's going to be your ones or your A's or whatever you call it.
That's a disadvantage to the offensive line.
That is, and that was one area that I talked about, like, hey, maybe, you kind of go in a way where you're molding your offensive line to be what you think the ones are going to be, but they're going about it this way, and that's fine. So, as I've said, take everything with a grain of salt, because what you see tonight isn't going to be gospel for what's going to happen in the fall necessarily, but you hope to see some things that make you optimistic at least.
Yeah, you just want to see some guys out there competing. Again, they have a lot of, you said linebackers earlier is the group that you're looking for. I guess I would echo that sentiment. The obvious answer is you want to see some of those quarterbacks, obviously all of Team Black now, but I think the interior D-line also you want to check out because they lost 3 very good players in Boogie Huntley, TJ Sanders, and Tonka Hemingway. And those guys are going to have to be replaced. And so we need to see and DeAndre Jules, who I thought did really well last year. So seeing who steps up to replace those guys is going to be a big question.
And you got bodies in the room, but can they play? Can they get in the rotation?
And that's, Tyler, that's something I always hesitate, folks. It's like, oh, we got depth. We got guys. Yes.
Doesn't mean they can play.
Doesn't mean that they can get. And to be even clearer, they might be okay, but those guys last year were really good.
Yes.
Tonka was really good. DeAndre Jules, I thought he was did really well in the times that he played. TJ Sanders obviously is going to be a first-day guy in the draft. So even though these guys, they're not going to be terrible, but replacing that level of production would be tough.
We assume that Monkel Goodwine and Nick Barrett are the two guys leading that room right now. Those are two guys that didn't really get on the field much last year behind those guys. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with not being as good as NFL caliber talent, but what is the degree of separation here?
I've sat behind NFL guys. It's okay. That doesn't mean you're not good. It means they're NFL dudes.
But it's like, are you one step behind them or are you 12 steps behind them?
Yeah, and that's sort of that's the big question. You'll see maybe they will step up. Maybe with the new expanded role, they'll step into it and fill that role. But I think that is something that you need to be paying attention to as you're watching the spring game. So that's going to be tonight. Early favorite, Team Black, Team Garnet. Are they going Garnet and Black or Black and White?
It's Garnet and Black.
Okay.
I mean, Team Black's got all the quarterbacks. I got to kind of say they're the heavy lean right now.
It's heavy lean on Black.
Vegas doesn't have a line on this. I'm going to set it at 6.5. How about that?
6.5.
Black by 6.5.
All right. Let me do a little bit more intel, maybe see what that fourth quarter roster is looking like.
Again, I want to know the rosters. I've been waiting for them to release it. I was hoping with a Friday game we might get them like last night.
We need some reporting. Wes and Chris, we need some reporting on this.
Yes, please. By 11 o'clock, let us know the rosters.
We need some report on this. So, yeah, spring game will be tonight. There could be some information to glean from this. I think there could be stuff that we get out of this. So we'll come back and we'll have a little bit more discussion on the spring game, talk a little bit about that. But next up, Tyler's in studio. And when Tyler's in the studio, we have to take advantage of him. Obviously, we have wrestling that we talked about. We'll talk about a little bit more. But Tyler's going to make his debut on one of our quickly rising segments. Tyler makes his debut on And Another Thing. Coming back.
Kennerly Road near Laurent Way, still working on getting that earlier tie-up cleaned up. That's right there at that traffic circle. It's Steeple Ridge, Kugler. So just be cautious there. Other accidents have been cleared, so great news in that respect. Also good news, we have a nice forecast on the way. 84 today, going to get a little breezier tomorrow. 88 will be the high, 86 on Sunday. So great weekend ahead. Starting off pretty nicely at 51 on 107.5 The Game.
Doing the thing. Big contract.
Okay.
Big contract. Okay, this one.
That look really real right there.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. This is normally the part in the week where either we've covered a story and we got to get back to it.
Yep.
Or we have not had a chance to cover something that's been happening because it's been bubbling in the other ground.
Sure.
And Tyler, while we have you here, we're gonna let you make your debut. Now, this is a segment that we like to call "And Another Thing."
Yes.
And I believe Tyler, being the consummate professional that he is, I believe he might have brought some sound for us. Jen, do we have the sound?
And another thing.
Oh, man, I can't wait to use this one over. One more time, G. Can we get that?
And another thing.
So, Tyler, this week
Yes.
in college football, a legend is going to have his jersey retired. And also Travis Hunter is going to have his jersey retired. Tyler, how do you feel about this situation out in Colorado?
Well, I'm glad I get to talk about this today because it's kind of been pushed off to the side with all the other things going on around here. What are we doing? You know what I mean? For one, jersey retirements are things that are supposed to happen years down the line.
Okay.
I don't like when they happen immediately like this. Again, you're talking about Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, who just finished playing at Colorado 5 minutes ago, having their jerseys retired at their spring game coming up. I think it's tomorrow night, right? What
Correct.
are we doing? This is one of those things that, think about Alshon Jeffrey, right? We just had his ceremony, not this past year, but the year before, if I remember correctly. And he played his entire career at South Carolina, went on to the NFL, won a Super Bowl, the whole 9 yards, and you got to celebrate everything he had accomplished after leaving your school as a part of that retirement. We don't know what Travis Hunter is going to do in the NFL. We don't know what Shedeur Sanders is going to do at the NFL. And at least for Travis Hunter, you have a Heisman Trophy.
And I will say that. I will agree with that.
What are we celebrating with Shedeur Sanders? And I get it. He has the potential to be a top pick, which hasn't happened yet. It's not going to happen until the end of this week. Are we celebrating him being a 13-12 overall quarterback at Colorado with a 0-1 bowl record? What are we doing? What are we celebrating here? What are we honoring him for? Now, again, if he goes on and has the best career in the NFL a quarterback's ever seen, sure, years down the road, number 2 can hang in the rafters. But right now, undeserving.
You say that, but I think Dion might have a different opinion than you, Tyler. Dion might, maybe not.
Hey, Dion's afraid. Dion is afraid to bite back at me.
Not really. This is the first time I ever seen it sore.
We really want to celebrate you.
Let's get the elephant out the room. We talking about Shedeur. We ain't talking about anybody
No.
else.
No?
I think we're going to get it. What Dion said, essentially saying, listen.
Congratulations to Shedeur and Travis with the retired jerseys.
Amen.
Retired jerseys can be a sore subject.
Not really.
Alums.
This is the first time I ever seen it sore.
What's your message, like maybe Buff Nation?
I don't have a message. Let's get the elephant out the room. We talking about Shedeur. We ain't talking about nobody else. Only reason
All right.
happiness.
So Dion was basically saying that the elephant in the room was that it was Shedeur.
Yes,
and
clearly.
And this is the only reason why you're having this subject, Tyler, It's because his last name is Sanders.
Yeah, I am. Because it's very clear you're doing this because this is your son. If his name was Shador Smith and you had no relation to him and he went 13-12 as a starter for you and was 0-1 in bowl games, would you be retiring his jersey? Of course not.
And another thing.
There you go. And look, I don't hate on Deion like a lot of people do. I think he's done a lot of good at Colorado and obviously exceeded most of our expectations.
I'd like to stand up and say I was hating.
Yeah, a lot of people were, and rightfully so, for the 4-8 season and being talked about, hey, how would this team do against 2019 LSU? They get the doors blown off, okay? That was ridiculous. But they had a better second year. And there are signs that this can be a sustainable thing going forward. And I give him credit for that. But sometimes the dad in him comes out a little bit too much. And this is one of those instances like, bro, if this was not your son, you would laugh at the idea of retiring that quarterback's number. So don't do it.
And Jen, that is Tyler's debut on.
And another thing.
Y'all going to get a lot of mileage out of that. Which, quickly for context, for anybody that doesn't remember, about a year ago on Twitter, there was a trend of inserting Foghorn Leghorn into other forms of media and taking his image and putting it in something and then writing out basically a quote of him saying it in his own mannerisms of speaking. And a guy was reading off of some of those. And in one of them, it said, and another thing. And when I heard that, I was like, Bill and Preston need that.
That's why you're a pro, Tyler. One more time, Jen.
And another thing.
We will continue. The early game marches on. This is the early game.
It's moving. Okay, remind you once again, got a lot going on this weekend here in Gamecock Sports. Tonight, got baseball kicking things off with game number 2 against Ole Miss. Pregame coverage starting at 3:45 for a 4 o'clock first pitch, which you can listen to on our sister station, 98.5 WOMG, as well as 100.3 The Game out in Myrtle Beach. And then spring game tonight at 7:30, start time. Pregame coverage starting at 6:30 with Chris Miller, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark, Elijah Campbell, and Terry Ford. Listen to exclusively here on 107.5 The Game. And then tomorrow, baseball game number 3 against Ole Miss. Pregame coverage starting at 1:30, and that'll be right here on 107.5 The Game. That's where you can catch all the Gamecock sports action this weekend right here on The Game.
Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. This is the early game. We are back in. Big night tonight. Recapping the game from yesterday. Big performance from Brandon Stone, right?
Phenomenal.
Goes out there, pitches a complete game, 86 pitches, 2 runs earned, 2 solo home runs, which happens when there's not a lot of people that get on base because you haven't walked anybody.
Yeah.
One
which
walk.
Is great.
Which is a tremendous big difference from what has been in the past. So a big game from last night. Let's get out to the phone line. I believe that is, again, Bill from Lexington.
Is it Bill or is it Will?
Will. This is quote-unquote Will from Lexington.
Yeah.
Will from Lexington. What's going on, man?
Will. Well, currently we're Will from actually almost to Santee, I guess. So maybe it was Bill from Lexington and Will from about Santee in that area right now.
So how's the drive going? What time did you leave this morning?
We got out about 6:30, so we were only 30 minutes behind. But we have hit the road, and yet we are almost to 95 to get down to the Heritage and hang out with Jay Phillips. Jay coached up Justin Thomas yesterday, and I'm heading down to coach up Scotty Scheffler today.
So what's the difference between going to the Heritage and any other golf tournaments?
The Heritage is just, and I'm interested because this is going to be a signature event. So anybody that went last year can speak to this, or anybody that went yesterday. In years past, the Heritage is just a big party with people playing golf around you. You know, nobody really. Oh, hey, look, there's a golfer over there. Let's talk to that guy. And he's probably in mid-swing. It's like going out and playing golf with your buddies. You know, it's a signature event now. It's a $20 million purse. You've got big names. Scotty Scheffler's here. Jordan Spieth. I think Spieth has been here in the past and won it. But you got everybody except Rory is here this week. It's an elevated event, and so I'm interested to see the vibe down here because a lot of times you could come down here. I remember coming down here probably in 14 maybe is the last time I was down here. And Preston, I just walked on the course. You know, just literally walked. They were like, oh, tickets are irrelevant. Just go out there and watch some golfers. So now that it's an elevated event, I expect it to be maybe a little bit tighter security. But, you know, you still got Harbor Town, which is back off of the 18th hole, and it's going to be it's a South Carolina party. It's just a golf event. We're very blessed in this state with Darlington, which is an incredible event, and you would say that it is. I think Jen would agree, especially the September race or the Labor Day race is an elite race, whether it's a playoff race or the end of the season, and that's what the Heritage now is. We have 2 elite events in our state, so it's gonna be exciting. I'm kind of happy to get down here, and should be beautiful weather. And like I said, just tell Scotty to keep his feet stable. That messed him up. He needs more stable feet this week.
Well, and how much does this being the week after the Masters, you mentioned Rory not being there, of course, how much does that help elevate this event even more, given the fact that obviously the entire world's buzzing about golf coming off of last weekend?
Yeah, well, again, it used to be a relaxing tournament that a lot of golfers would come to after a stressful week at the Masters, and they could bring their families down here, and the families could hang out at Hilton Head and go on the beach while they're playing golf. The fact that they elevated it now to get more golfers, and there's no cuts. This is one of those events that was created because of the LIV Tour, because of the LIV, because here everybody will play through the weekend. It's a smaller field than you would see at a typical tournament. Again, the pot is bigger, so there's more money being given out to the winner and even spread around. This is a byproduct of what they've changed this tournament to, not the Heritage itself, but it is how the event has changed. It's a byproduct of what Phil Mickelson and Greg Norman and all those guys created when some PGA players went, hey, they're making a lot of money. They only play 3 rounds of golf. They don't get cut. You know, what are we doing here? So I'm really interested. There's a reason I wanted to get down here this year to really see the difference in the event as opposed to the way it has been run really, you know, since its inception.
Bill, I'm not sure if you heard, but we made a forecast yesterday about the spring game draft, and it came true. What do you think about Lenore Sellers being drafted number 1 overall?
I think it was a risky pick. I hope he gets out to. I hope they get out to a big lead because, as you said, what is his snap count? What is his pitch count in the second half? What is his pitch count? Look, if you were going opposite And I don't know if Elijah Campbell's calling. I don't know what team Elijah's calling to play for.
He'll have the first play for Team Black.
You got the first play from Team Black?
First play for Team Black, which is Lenoris' team. So Lenoris will be running his play.
Okay, all right.
Which, by the way, I know what the play is. You're going to want to see it.
Okay, well, somebody recorded on video. I know what the play is. I'm going to assume it's not a quarterback run, by the way.
He starts off with a QB power.
I'm not going to spoil it for you.
What is it? Power over the right side, Preston?
Yes.
Is that what
Run a QB power. The old Corey Jenkins play, right?
No, I think he's creating something totally new with a totally new name, like a foghorn leghorn.
You know what? We should call it the foghorn leghorn.
Maybe there might be something to that. I'm fairly confident. I have no sources. I'm fairly confident. There's a list of things that Elijah cannot do with this play.
Yeah, there's parameters for sure, but you'll like what you see. I promise.
Is there an over under a number of backwards passes? 1.5?
I'm not at liberty to say.
Take the over.
Preston, you take that. I take the over too. Yeah. No. Who's the? Whoever has Lenore or whoever said Lenore, you better get off. You better hope Elijah's early play is for a touchdown, because if you're the Garnet team, I think you try to stall and get the game to the second half when you know that you're handing it off to whoever the backup whoever's playing quarterback there.
Well, Bill, they took an interesting draft strategy. Tyler, tell them the rest of the Team Black's quarterbacks.
Yeah, so they went heavy on the quarterbacks. Team Black is Lenoris, Cutter Woods, and Air Nolan, while Team Garnet got Dante Reno and Luke Doty, and I think Jimmy Francis as well. So definitely Team Black seems to have the QB advantage by a lot. I'm
going Team Black minus 16.5.
Oh, that was a lot bigger than the line I put out there. I said 6.5.
I'm going 16. And who's the? Yeah, I'd have to look. I guess at some defensive linemen. Who's got Dylan Stewart? I'm assuming Dylan Stewart was 2.
Well, see, we don't know the full roster.
We don't have a full roster yet. We don't have a full roster yet. We just got some leaks and pieces of information.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going Team Black minus 16.5. If those are the two quarterbacks, because I will say that's good. You get to see Dante Reno and you get to see Luke Doty tonight, kind of in a battle there. And in all seriousness, you wonder how that goes if Monday Luke Doty's not going to transfer, but you wonder what Dante Reno looks around at and says, maybe I need to make a decision on my future. That's the way college football is now.
Unless Bill, let's say we know Lenore Sellers was pick number 1. What if Dante Reno was pick number 2 for Garnet to counter that? I'm just saying, just putting it out there.
Well, you may very well be right. I would love. Now I'm very entertained to know who the number 2 pick was. If Aaron Nolan or Cutter Woods was not to offset that, but maybe Team Garnet has gone running back heavy here. Maybe they've got all the running backs.
We're gonna wait.
We don't know.
We're gonna wait to see the roster comes out. I don't think we're gonna have any breaking news on that this morning. We're gonna wait to see all that. So that'll be the spring game. Now, Bill, you want to mention? Obviously, we know baseball with a big win last night, but you want to talk about softball.
I have not seen softball.
Okay.
What did they do last night?
All right. We'll come back to.
They have a wraparound series. They're Saturday through Monday this weekend.
I was going to say they play Saturday, Sunday. They play on Easter. They play Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a big weekend for them.
So Tyler said the baseball team has a chance to take the series tonight. And as somebody mentioned, maybe I believe somebody said that they was on path to hosting a regional. Is that Bill? You said we had somebody calling to mention that.
Jeremy Wallace, we're going to hold him accountable. He told me to screenshot it last night. He said, he said screenshot. I said, okay, we'll screenshot that.
What if that happens? He deserves a prize. We got to give him something, right?
A signed 1075 The Game T-shirt, signed personally by Terry Ford.
Is that a prize?
Well, he gets something. He can say he won. But yeah, that's it's like what Paul Maneri said on Wednesday. Who knows what happens in the back half of the season? You got 3 series. This one, Auburn and LSU against top 15 teams, and you got Florida and Kentucky that are not top 15 teams. Who knows? Maybe they rally and get it together. Paul Maneri has had that actually happen in his career. We'll see. Win tonight and find out.
All right, Bill, we'll be talking to you a little bit later when we come back. Obviously, I know you're interested in it. Stay tuned. Hold tight. We will have you on for the WrestleMania segment, so do not worry. Don't fear.
Sting is wrestling this weekend, right?
Was that Sting?
Sting and Lex Luger against Ric Flair and Arn Anderson.
Not quite. I think we're a little few years past that.
Oh, okay.
This is the early
I
game.
look forward to a little more.
I-20 eastbound at Longs Pond Road. We have a report of a tie-up there. And in the cleanup stages, Kennerly near Laurent Way, right there at the traffic circle. Beautiful forecast on the way. My goodness. 84 today. 88 tomorrow. Might be a little windier tomorrow. And then 86 for Sunday. Not really seeing any rain in the forecast till maybe Tuesday night. But we will certainly savor these 80-degree temperatures while we can. And they will last at least through next week. Right now, sun is out. It is 51.
Welcome into the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. If you've been with us, we appreciate it. If you're just joining us, welcome in. Got a lot to talk about, man. Sports happening Friday. A lot of things going down. But more importantly than what's happening today, maybe what happened yesterday. Big win for the baseball team. And I think it's understated to say that they needed that.
Oh, badly. Again, they're going to have to go on a miracle run in these next, rest of this series and obviously the 4 after that. And I don't know if they're going to be able to or not, but for today, at least until first pitch today at 4 o'clock, we can feel good about what they did last night because, man, and I put this on Twitter last night. Was that the best game of the season? Was that the best? I know, obviously, and Hunter, you got to give Hunter Elliott on the other side credit because he pitched a pretty good game as well. So hitting hits were tough to come by and runs were tough to score, which is to be expected in SEC play. But, man, that performance by Stone and the defense around him, that seemed like the best performance of the entire year as a whole.
Yeah, as I stated, this is one Brandon will remember for the rest of his life because it's a complete game victory at home when your team needed it. Maybe it's the catalyst for something to come forward for the rest of the season. Maybe not. Who knows? But it was a huge moment. Jennings clip 10. This is Coach Maneri talking about how much they needed to win, and I'm sure you could probably hear the relief in his voice getting his dub last night.
Well, goes without saying that was a great win for us tonight, badly needed, and just so proud of the guys for the way that they've kept their chins up and kept battling hard. I get a lot of questions sometimes, how do you keep guys going, and you just got to keep going forward, just keep trudging forward. Obviously the key to the game was this big fella sitting next to me. He was in complete command tonight, and I've told you this many times that anybody that thinks pitching is 90% of the game is largely underestimating its importance. He completely dominated the game today, gave his team a chance. We got a couple of big hits, and great play, great defense, and it was a wonderful win for us.
I think that's a really interesting choice of words that Coach uses. He says that he dominated because in your mind, if you hear a pitcher pitches a complete game domination, you're thinking 10 strikeouts.
Yeah, fan him left and right.
You're thinking all kinds of things are going on, and that's not what happened last night. But it was a case of domination.
Yeah, it was. And again, Maneri said this earlier on in the week when discussing putting him back in the starting rotation. He throws strikes, and throwing strikes doesn't mean you're going to get past every single batter. They're going to put the ball in play. But when they put the ball in play, routinely was on the ground, and you had the defense there to back it up and get the outs and obviously help you, in the game that way. So it's exactly what this team needed. It's exactly what this pitching staff needed because they've been struggling as a whole. Now, that doesn't mean that these guys can go out there as a whole and be able to do exactly what Stone did last night, but you hope that some kind of momentum can push them in the right direction because, again, you're going to need to be efficient in all areas if you want to win more conference games. And, again, tonight you have the opportunity to go out there and finally win your first conference series, first series against a Power 4 opponent this entire season. That's worth something.
Yeah.
How much in the grand scheme of things? Probably not a lot, but for the moment and feeling good, quite a bit.
Yeah, again, as I stated, you don't know if this game is a catalyst for something or a run or competing, but for this moment in that night is a huge, huge performance. And maybe it builds to something else. Jen,
does Bill's buddy know something we don't know?
Maybe he does. Jen, this is going to be clip 12. I said 11, but let's go with 12 here because it talks about the idea of pitching with confidence. And again, Brandon Stone, not known for having quote-unquote dominating stuff, right? Sure. But there is something to be said when you go out on the mound, you know your stuff, you know you can hit your spots, and you can pitch with confidence. Let's listen to Coach Maneri talk about that.
John, honestly, I've loved that kid all year, and he hasn't pitched poorly all year, whether we used him out of the bullpen or as a starter. He's had some bad luck. The first inning against Oklahoma, there were a lot of seeing eye hits type of things and, just some bad karma for him, I don't know if that's the right word, but just some bad luck stuff. And even when I used him out of the pen against Tennessee when we had the lead, they hit a couple of sliders for home runs late in the game, but he pitched a great 7th inning, and then even after the home runs, he pitched well. So he's a winner. There's no question in my mind about it. And tonight I just think, he was very determined right from the get-go. I mean, you know, I got asked a lot why Brandon Stone, or maybe it was Derek Scott that asked me that in the pregame radio show, and I just gave a one-word answer: strikes. I mean, the 3 games over in College Station, our starting pitchers didn't throw strikes right out of the gate. And, Eskew was able to wiggle his way out of it because that's the way he does it, But, Becker and Jake were not able to. Now, tomorrow, hopefully, Jake's going to be more in the strike zone. I have a feeling that he is. He's very determined tomorrow as well to throw strikes. But I just thought Brandon would come out in the first inning. I didn't know if they'd hit him or not, but I knew he'd throw the ball over the plate. And he had a pretty quick first inning there. I think the batter tried a bunt, or we had a swinging bunt or something, but Gavin Braylon made a couple plays out there in front of the plate, and we made the plays in the infield for him, and it just gave the team such a lift to have a 1-2-3 first inning and not have to stand out there and watch pitchers walk batters. And, he just seemed like he kept getting stronger and stronger as the game went on.
He mentioned something really important. I want to bookend this with 2 things that happened.
All right.
And the idea of confidence. When you're not a good team, you're not confident.
Of course not.
You don't have a lot of reason to be confident.
Sure.
There hasn't been a lot of proof. And so in that first inning, he goes out and he gets a 1-2-3 inning. You start thinking, okay.
All right. Good start.
All right.
Good start.
This is
Feeling good.
This is good, right? No walks, no runs. I'm in and out. Coming up in the bottom ninth, home. All these good things are happening. And that sort of carries you through the game as things start to build. He throws a ground ball. You turn a couple double plays. You're like, all right, things are going. And then the 9th inning comes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're faced with this situation. So what's the situation in the 9th inning?
Yeah, so 9th inning comes up, South Carolina up 3-2. First batter hits one straight to Scobie at third base, and it's that one that kind of hits the ground right before he gets
tough
to
hop,
him.
In between hop, tough play.
And if you've ever played the hot corner, that is the worst ball to try and field because there's no telling what direction it's going to go. It kind of pops up in the air, goes behind him, runner reaches. So, again, 1-run game. Now you have the winning run coming to the plate. You have not gotten your first out yet. And all of us that have watched this team this entire year are thinking, here it comes.
Yep.
Brandon Stone has pitched this masterful game. And through no faults of his own, what should have been kind of a routine play otherwise, it's going to go sideways. He's already given up 2 home runs, solos, gives up another one. They're down 4-3. And, again, Carolina was having a bit of trouble with Ole Miss's pitching staff themselves because of how well they were pitching. They're going to lose this game 4-3 or something like that. It's going to go sideways and immediately double play after that. So your defense picked you up, and that's what happened all night long. The 2 home runs that he did give up, the first one in the 3rd inning, immediately gets ground out after that. And then later on in the game when he gave up the second one, immediately gets ground out after that. So they didn't string things together where you start to say, oh, no, it's starting to come unraveled. As soon as they got momentum back on their side, boom, you took it back.
Yeah, and that is hugely important. That is hugely important. And I just wanted to show that side because how fickle confidence actually is. First inning, something as simple as a 1-2-3 inning, you start walking with your chest out a little bit.
Sure.
Then in the 9th inning, a tough play happens to a guy that's normally reliable. And that's another part. It's like this guy always makes these plays. Oh, man, if he doesn't make the play, what am I? And you start worrying about what's going to happen.
Then you're in your head.
Then you get in your head. But they were able to shut the door, which was, and I think that's probably the most important part of the win. Going back to another part where Coach Mary said, hey, man, just throw strikes. 86 pitches, which is a masterful performance. I learned about the Maddox today.
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't know that.
I never knew. I never knew that. I knew it was something good because obviously Maddox is one of the GOATs. But just throw strikes. 86 pitches, 61 of them strikes.
The most batters they faced in an entire inning last night was 5, which was that 3rd inning where he had the first solo home run and then he gave up a single as well. But yeah, that's the max. That's the most amount of batters that Stone saw in a single half inning last night.
Yeah, and there's something to the game being played very quickly, under 2 hours.
Yep.
Not a lot of time to get in your head, right? We're just playing the game. It's rolling around. There's no lag time. I can just play baseball.
I wasn't, I guess, paying attention when they were showing the dugout, but I wonder if he was sitting by himself or if he was talking to people because that's the thing with pitchers, and usually talk about it with no-hitters. Like, don't talk to him. He's let him sit on the end of the bench. Don't get in his head or anything like that. I wonder if Stone was, like, being his normal self or people like, don't stay away. Stay away. He's got something going. Leave him alone.
And again, it wasn't a no-hitter, but he was out there dealing. You could feel it.
For where this team is right now, we are celebrating this like a no-hitter. How about that?
Absolutely. And as I stated, Brandon, congratulations. Awesome performance. You'll remember that performance for the rest of your life, competing in that time. Who knows what happens for the rest of the year?
This is a guy that was pitching JUCO a year ago.
Right.
To come in here and do that in the SEC against a ranked opponent, that's huge.
Yeah, huge performance last night. So congratulations, Brandon Stone and the baseball team. Let's see if they can take a series tonight as the precursor to the spring game, which will be starting at 7:30. When we come back, we'll listen to Shane, and I want to talk about how the spring game is not a standalone opportunity. It's actually a continuation of the buildup of the spring. This is the early game.
I-20 eastbound and Longs Pond Road, still working that earlier tie-up, and a beautiful forecast on the way. My goodness. We're going to be in the 80s, really, for this weekend and through next week. It's going to be fantastic. Sunny and 84 today. A little bit breezier tomorrow, 88, 86 for Sunday and Monday. So just a beautiful weekend on tap. And starting off your morning, we are sitting at 53 on the early game.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. It's game day. It is game day. If you're not aware, if you've been living under a rock, if you missed it, today is the spring game. They have it on a Friday. And I believe Gamecock Athletics just released the schedule. So here's going to be the schedule. 3:30, Gamecock Park gates open. 5:30, Gamecock walk. 6 o'clock, Williams-Bryce gates open. 7:30 p.m., Tyler. Kickoff.
Okay.
It says kickoff.
I'm assuming that the ball will be kicked.
It says
and there will
kickoff.
be an attempt to return.
It says kickoff.
Okay. All right. Again, I know spring games, some programs don't like to do that, so I left it open. If they didn't want to kick off, I'd just say the start time when the first team offense or a offense came on the field to start things, but sounds like we're going to have kickoff.
So 7:30 p.m. kickoff, and there will be fireworks post-game in the stadium. So that is the day. If you didn't hear that again, 3:30 Gamecock Park gates open, 5:30 Gamecock walk, 6 o'clock Williams-Bryce gates open, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. So that'll be the game today. Now, Tyler, you've been scouring the message boards. You found anything?
I found something really good.
what you got?
I kind of have some breaking news to share. In fact, are you aware that Nebraska is actually going to have a spring game now?
You know what? I saw a whisper about this last night on the internet, but I wasn't quite sure. Give it to me.
This is per ESPN. Nebraska coach Matt Rule called an audible on his plan to entirely eliminate full pad scrimmaging on the day of what would normally be the Cornhusker spring game. Rule said on Thursday, the April 26th event, so coming up, I'm assuming next weekend, replacing the spring game, would include an undetermined amount of live scrimmaging for mostly third and fourth string players. So not the ones and twos, but there is some still semblance of a spring game going on for Nebraska coming up next week, which leads us to message board mayhem from Inside Nebraska, which I believe is a rival site. Preacher Rule folds. We'll have spring game. This weekend, sorry to all the fans who would have planned on attending if he wasn't blank footing around. Our head coach continues to show he has zero courage / conviction concerning, to say the least.
Okay, Jen, we're going to call a little bit of an audible here. All right. Good find, Tyler. So the way this argument was framed, the way I heard it framed, I heard it from Matt Rule's mouth.
Yes.
His argument was framed that though they were doing the fan experience earlier where there were going to be drills and skills and things of that nature, he was going to let the third and fourth string players / maybe walk-ons, back half of roster guys go out there and compete in what possibly could be their last opportunity to play. And his position was that because the rosters are going to be trimmed down to 105 with the new House settlement, that's where we get deep into the weeds here.
Yep.
With the new House settlement, there's going to be trimming the rosters. He was positioning as a benevolent idea, as in, I'm giving them one last opportunity to play.
I guess so. But still.
That's how he positioned it.
But still. And he's also saying, well, we know you're not good enough to be tampered with by anybody, so go out there, have your fun.
Shane also addressed this trimming of the roster because this is something that is happening in the spring. So, Jen, this is clip 8. Let's listen to Shane talk about how he plans to address the new changes coming to college football.
No, it's something that no one has ever had to deal with before in regards to the roster. We were last year, for example, the maximum number of football players that we could have on our team was 120. So this year, the maximum number is 105, and that's throughout college football. So that's 15 less spots, and every school is different. There's Title IX implications and things like that. I've been at some programs where we had 130 players on the team. I've been at some where it was 115. We were 120, so that's 15 less roster spots this upcoming season that we'll have. So it'll change in some ways the way you practice, because once you set that 105, it doesn't change. So we don't have to. Let me back up. Once you set it, it's not like if you and Todd are running backs and you get hurt and you're done for the season. It's not like we can just go add 2 more guys. We're at 103 for the rest of the season. God forbid you think about what happened with our offensive line a couple years ago. You can't go add players, so you got to be thinking about, okay, do we have enough guys in this 105? Do we have enough running backs? Boom. Do we have enough offensive linemen, not only to play in games, but to be able to get through the season practicing? So we're all trying to figure it out, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. The good news is, if you will, you don't have to set that 105 until literally the day of your first game. So every school's doing it differently, but for us, we could have 120 players up until the morning of the Virginia Tech game, and then the morning of the Virginia Tech game, we have to say, okay, this is our 105 players for the 2025 season. But there's a lot of thinking that goes into that, but more importantly, there's a human element involved, and those are tough conversations that I'm going to have with 15 players on our team.
Yeah, so there are roster implications of this new rule.
Yeah, that's something that you do have to figure out. I don't think there's going to have 120 by the morning of the Virginia Tech game. I think you're going to thin it out before then. But you do have to kind of, and that's, I guess, kind of an underrated aspect of the spring game that we haven't talked about as much. There are guys at the very bottom of this roster, bottom of the quote-unquote depth chart, so to speak, that are fighting to stay on the team, I guess.
Very similar to what you would see maybe in the third or fourth NFL scrimmages.
Yeah.
Where there are, if you want to see competitive football,
you're playing for your career.
Those dudes are playing because they're playing for their career. So maybe what you'll see towards the end of this spring games is you'll see a lot of guys who maybe know they're at that back end of rosters. They will be out there putting stuff on tape, trying to get maybe noticed or trying to make plays. Also, that's why you want to keep maybe your starters away from them.
Sure.
Because it might be a little overzealous. But yes, this is something that is going to be happening on rosters across the country.
And I don't know the specifics on this. I wonder if that's going to be the case every single year, where that roster has to be trimmed only by the first game, or if that is a year-round thing to have 105.
Good question. Don't know the answer to that. Also with the NCAA, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Because I was going to say that's an angle on spring games going forward is, okay, maybe it becomes less and less about your established guys and more like, hey, let's get the guys towards the bottom here that we don't know about, go out there. And again, it's not a, hey, if your team wins, you're on the team. If your team loses, you're cut. But gives you another instance and more opportunity to watch those guys and see who you want to keep.
There is incentive, and there's a lot of different angles where we can look at this, and probably we'll get into it a little bit more as we go along. But obviously, Shane said there's a human element to it, where guys that have been working through the spring, they're going to get cut. Hey,
that's life.
It's what it is, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
listen, we've all tried out for teams. You may have gotten cut from a team.
Yeah,
it's no different.
It's going to be the similar thing. That's going to be, that's going to be a tough decision for them. It's going to be a tough conversation, but they'll have to have it. It does affect practices because you're not going to have as many bodies to fill in drills. I've been of the position of saying, hey, college coaches, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Every other level of football practices with way less players than 120.
Sure.
The NFL, they have less players practicing. High school has less players practicing. Everybody figures out a way to make it work. It's convenient to have more bodies. It's nice. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. They'll be fine. This is going to be a talking point for this offseason, but once we get into 26 and beyond, it's just going to become a normal thing. You'll adjust accordingly, and this won't be a big deal.
Yeah, they'll figure those things out. And so with that being said, you'll see a lot of guys who are trying to actually fight their way up depth charts. And a lot of times we think about the spring game at the top of the depth charts. Who's the guys that are at the top? Dylan Stewart, Lenora Sellers, and that's fun. But the real battles are going on for instead of who's not going to be 1 or 2, but who's going to be 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And that's where the competitiveness, and that's where you'll see some of these conversations, and the coaches are going to have to go in and really evaluate these players.
Yeah, again, especially with how much you lost from last season, it's not just about the stars, it's about the depth that you have. And again, what order you're going in terms of who's going to see the field, who's going to see action. And look, they've already had 2 spring scrimmages already, the ones that were behind closed doors that we didn't get to see. So they probably have a pretty good idea going into tonight on what they have and what they don't. But here's your last opportunity in a game setting to go out there and prove yourself.
And that's what the last point I wanted to bring up is that the spring game is just a culmination of the spring. It's a buildup of the scrimmages that they've already had. Rarely, if a guy shows out during the spring game, he's probably already had a really good spring.
Yeah.
Does not guarantee that he'll have a great fall.
Right.
But he's probably already had a really good spring, and he's just put himself in a position to do well.
Again, there's going to be at least one person tonight that does something significant, whether it's a big catch, a touchdown, or leads one of the teams in receiving or rushing, that you're not going to hear anything about this fall. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there.
That is without a doubt. Now, who it is, where it is, what position,
who knows?
We don't know, but it'll be a guy getting a bunch of sacks, maybe a wide receiver making some catches. It'll be something happening.
It'll be a guy, and then when we start hearing from Beamer leading up to the season, you don't hear his name getting brought up, and you're like, okay, that was probably the guy this year.
Also, here's another new angle. Guy that you may not have thought of has a big spring game, and he's like, you know what? Being third on this depth chart doesn't sound so good. Let me go see what I maybe could do out here.
See what other teams are willing to pay you. Maybe if you're a wide receiver, maybe $2 million. Who knows?
Well, you won't be getting that from Fran Brown. Absolutely.
No, you will not.
Fran Brown has told you that he will not be getting that $2 million. So, yes, the spring games tonight, we set the table. As I said before, if you got an opportunity to go out, it's free, it's fun, it's laid-back atmosphere. You get a chance to watch some ball in the spring. If that's something that you're interested in, it might be a good time. It will not be televised, so that will be your only opportunity to actually see it. But what will be televised this weekend, Tyler? On 2 days.
That's right.
On Peacock.
Yes, a premium live event.
A premium live event. We'll come back. We'll have a little WrestleMania talk. We'll talk a little wrestling with Tyler Head. This is the early game. Press A for our friends at Integrated Media. Listen, man, we've been telling you all along that this was the time of year where you needed that be set up. And if you haven't called, don't worry, it's not too late. You can still get your outdoor setup ready. You can get Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof. You can get Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music. Or most importantly, you can get your Wi-Fi set up so that you can have all your screens set up. You can have your phone, desktop, laptop, TV, tablet, all of that stuff running on the same Wi-Fi. You won't experience any lag time because the good folks from Integrated Media will set you up. Some home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security system from your cell phone. Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
Things really moving along fairly nicely for your Friday morning. That I-20 eastbound at Longs Pond Road in the cleanup stages at this point. And like we've talked about all morning, beautiful forecast on the way. We're going to be in the 80s for at least a week. 84 today, 88 tomorrow, 86 on Sunday. Just kind of put that on repeat. On Tuesday, we might see some afternoon or evening thunderstorms rolling in and have a couple days of some of that activity. But for the most part, very, very nice forecast on the way. Warming up, it's 54 on 107.5 The Game.
Welcome back into the early game. It's Preston Thorne. It's Tyler Head. It's Jen Jensen. And I believe we have William from Parts Unknown, as one famous wrestler called himself. William, do you know where the wrestler from Parts Unknown, do you know who that was?
I do not, and that is why I chose this segment to join you again, because I feel like it'll be a informational segment for me, and I would like to hear more about WrestleMania, which, by the way, it's William from currently Yemassee, South Carolina.
William,
we're passing.
William from Yemassee. Thank you for calling in. We appreciate your continued listening to the show this morning. All right, Tyler. The biggest weekend.
By the way, Ultimate Warrior is from Parts Unknown.
Correct. There you go.
Parts Unknown. Okay, good. Thank you. See, so right off the bat, I feel good about the segment already.
The biggest weekend in the wrestling year, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
This is the one. Yes.
1,000%.
Now you have other premium live. What's the word? Premium
live events, PLEs.
There are other PLEs, but this is the one. This is the one. This is This is WrestleMania. This is the one that you build up all the year for. So let's start off. We did this a little bit earlier, maybe a couple of weeks ago. But for those that do not know, let's just get a little cheat sheet here. What's the number one story?
John Cena's a bad guy.
Okay. John Cena's a bad guy. But if I don't know anything, why is that important?
Because he's been a good guy for the past 20 years. He has been the face of the company for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he has set the record for the most make-a-wishes of anybody in the history of that program ever. He is just literally a good guy. And now he has turned heel, to use a wrestling phrase, and now challenging John Cena Cody Rhodes for the championship on Sunday in the Sunday main event.
Now, Cody Rhodes is an interesting story because Cody Rhodes, he walks the line. He's not a heel. He's a baby face.
He's a baby face. Yeah.
If you had to make a prediction, where you see this one going?
Honestly, it could go either way.
Okay.
And that's what makes it so intriguing. And look, I've been a wrestling fan my entire life. When you watch enough wrestling, you can almost kind of predict how things happen a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, I could very much see Cody Rhodes retaining and continuing on what's already been a year-long championship reign. I could also see John Cena passing Ric Flair for the most world title reigns of all time and doing something with that for the last 7 to 8 months of his professional wrestling career. That's what makes it so intriguing, because I truly don't know which way they're going to go, but either way is compelling.
Bill from Yemassee, what do you think about that?
Well, how old is John Cena now?
He's in his 40s. I think he's 43, 44. He's getting up there.
Yeah.
He is 47, actually. Excuse me.
Cody Rhodes. Well, let me add. Okay, number one. Let me get a fire in a couple questions. Where are we at this weekend? Where is WrestleMania occurring?
Sin City, baby, Las Vegas.
Nice.
Okay, great venue. I'm guessing Allegiant Stadium there. Big venue.
Big deal.
All right. So let me ask, Tyler. So my wrestling. Here's where, if WrestleMania, if I'm down here and I look at the TV.
Yep.
And they're promoting it, they're going to start telling me about the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time.
Yes.
And Preston, this might be where you get a little nostalgic too, because I've grown out of it. I don't have when I see Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, when I think Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant.
Yep.
These are the matches I think of, and I think they had some over at Wembley Stadium, and I believe that was when the Ultimate Warrior went running around the entire stadium, and then ran into the ring or something. Give me, Tyler, the top 4 or top 5. I'll let you choose depending on what your memory is here.
Yep.
All-time WrestleMania matches.
Number 1 for me is Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25, instant classic there. I think you got to throw in Bret Hart and Stone Cold at 13 in the submission match. That's the match is famous for the double turn, where Stone Cold started off as a heel, but by the end of the match, he was a face, something very hard to accomplish in wrestling. Man, you got to throw in the Hogan and Andre the Giant. I believe that was WrestleMania 2, where they had the body slam. And then, personal favorite for mine, this would have been WrestleMania 17. Tables, ladders, and chairs, Dudley Boys, Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian. With just a car crash of a match, but phenomenal. That's my top 4.
Bill from Yemency, you agree? Disagree?
Well, I got to admit, I was more of a WCW guy growing up. I was a WCW guy, so WrestleMania, WWF, it wasn't always my thing that I paid as much attention to. I do think I had the WWF video game. But yeah, okay, I'm with it. Look, I defer to Tyler on this. Tyler's the one that knows all about it. That's why I asked him, because I get nostalgic about the 90s and the late 80s wrestling that I've seen the highlights of.
Well, that's how nostalgia works, because you just get excited about the time period when you were a kid.
Yeah, whatever you grew up on, that's going to be your favorite. And again, I did reach back in some of the old schools there, but some of these things I was not alive to experience when they happened, so I don't get the full grasp of how big that they were.
Right. So if there's somebody who is in prime wrestling age now, what other events from WrestleMania this weekend will they be looking out for?
Oh, man, there's everything. So tonight you have SmackDown. After that, you have the Hall of Fame, which you mentioned Lex Luger a little bit earlier. He's going into the Hall of Fame tonight. Will be inducted by, inducted by Diamond Dallas Page. Tomorrow you have NXT Stand and Deliver. Tomorrow afternoon, where our boy Trick Williams going to be in the triple threat for the NXT Championship again. I think he's got to become the main roster sooner rather than later.
It's got to happen, right?
It's got to happen sometime soon.
Two of my worlds collided.
Yeah.
Trick Williams is going to be starring on All American this year, season 7.
Yep.
So 2 of my disparate worlds have collided. I'm very excited about that.
So you get that tomorrow afternoon. You get WrestleMania Night 1 tomorrow night, WrestleMania Night 2 on Sunday night, and then you get the Raw after WrestleMania on Monday, which is notorious for being crazy and have people returns and all those kind of things. So you get, I don't even know how many hours that would be over the next 3 to 4 days. A lot of good wrestling stuff.
Now, The Rock will make an appearance this weekend.
He is in town.
He's in town.
And he was the catalyst for Cena turning heel at Elimination Chamber in February. We have not seen him since. He's got to be involved some kind of way.
And right now he's playing the final boss character.
The final boss.
This is. I will say this again, not super versed, but he's like, this is cool.
Oh, he's doing very well.
He's doing a great job at this.
Also, yesterday on First Take, Cody Rhodes was on.
Okay.
And I don't know if you saw the clip, but Travis Scott gave him a black eye when this whole thing happened.
Travis didn't know how to pull the punch.
And he basically said he's got a receipt coming if he shows up at WrestleMania. Ooh. So Cody Rhodes might be actually assaulting Travis Scott this weekend if you want to get in on that.
Okay. All right. Any significant plot twist that you expect besides the major one?
The other main event tomorrow night, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, triple threat. I don't know which way this one's going to go. Could be, and again, if you're more deep ingrained into it, again, we haven't seen The Rock. Seth Rollins has been alluding to Rock-esque things, so I wonder how he ties into all this, and he could have an effect on the main event on Sunday too. So something to keep an eye on.
All right, so Bill from Yemency, the WrestleMania will be streaming live on Peacock this weekend.
Oh, good.
Can we for Monday get some commentary for us on the rewind? Can we make a pact as co-host here to watch something from WrestleMania this weekend?
I will try to add it to my arsenal of sports for the weekend to catch some kind of WrestleMania. Hey, real quick, I want to know what happened with the last time I saw some WWF. I think I was in Greenville with my son catching when Roman Reigns and the Bloodline were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Like they were dominating everything. What happened? What's happened to the Bloodline and Roman Reigns?
Bill, I don't have. I can't explain all that in 120 seconds. Just say that the Bloodline has disbanded. And Roman Reigns is kind of doing his own thing now.
You gotta know that they're disbanding.
Well, I guess the better question is: did you acknowledge him in Greenville? Did you put your ones in the air for him, like you should?
No, I didn't know what to do, and then I got booed by my son.
Disrespecting the tribal chief.
That's messed up.
Bill Gunner.
Bill, real quick, tell us where you are, where you going, what you doing.
We are heading to the Heritage. I am almost there this morning, and we're going to go hang out with the new core house with good buddy Matt Curry. We're going to see Jay Phillips this afternoon, and we're going to see our good buddy Rock Lucas is down here from Charwood, and so we'll have a good time. We'll go hang out though at the new core house on number 8. I'll be at somewhere around hole number 8 here, hopefully within the next hour is what GPS says, and take in the Heritage today, maybe a little bit tomorrow, and get back for my son's birthday. He turns 13 on Sunday, and we'll celebrate some Easter and be ready to rock and roll Monday morning with WWE and a recap of the Heritage and a recap of the spring game.
Sounds perfect.
Sounds great, man. Appreciate you calling in, Bill. That was Bill from Yemisi. When we come back to when we come out to finish out the show, we honor a legend who announced his retirement yesterday. This is the early game.
Every Saturday morning during the college football season, Lee Corso's iconic headgear picks have been a staple leading into a full day's worth of games. But how did they come to be? In 1996, while College Game Day was at Ohio State, Corso had fellow analyst Kirk Herbstreit ask his wife Allison, a former Buckeyes cheerleader, if she'd be willing to talk to the school's cheerleading advisor to see if he could put on Brutus's famous mascot head. And after some heavy negotiations, history was made. From roasting Ugga,
But that dog is ugly. Give me this thing here.
to the rare four-letter word.
The legend retires. Lee Corso, the face, the spirit, the heart, the character, all of that stuff you want to talk about. No doubt, if you're listening to this show, then Lee Corso is a part of your life.
Of course,
it's 100% overlap, right? If you're spending your time listening to me, I thank you. I appreciate it. But you are a college football fan, and Lee Corso has been a part of your life for a long time.
Yeah,
and he's finally retiring. And I said it earlier in the 6 o'clock. For me, it's a sense of relief, a sigh, almost like, okay, whew, glad that they are letting him go out on his own terms. Glad that they made it through the season safely without any major mishaps on air, because obviously his health was deteriorating. And it's just kind of good to let a legend sunset in the best way possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you're glad that he gets caught on his own terms, like you said. And there's been a lot of worry over the years that, his health may take a turn all of a sudden, and we're not going to get that send-off. He's just not going to be able to.
Live shows, too.
Exactly.
So it's like,
and you got to give ESPN credit, too, because, look, media is a cutthroat industry, right? If they don't think you're contributing, they'll let you go no matter who you are.
Correct.
But I think it speaks volumes to how important he's been to this show, that they understand if they just cut him out, without any warning, and that was the end of Lee Corso on game day, the backlash would be insane. And they understand they can't do that. And they've found ways to involve him over the years, even as his health was declining, whether it be just being the headgear at the end of the show or doing like one or two other segments that were written out for him so he could still contribute. And again, I think week one, given the fact that, it's the start of everything. And there's going to be a couple high-profile games, but not across the board. There's going to be a lot of cupcakes and stuff like that. So you can take the ample amount of time to celebrate Lee, play the highlights, bring in guests, all that kind of stuff, and have this great grand final headgear at the end of the show that I think will satisfy everyone. There's going to be a lot of tears on the set, people watching in the crowd, at home. Preston, Bill gets emotional about anything anyway.
Bill 1,000%.
Bill 1,000%. So I think it's going to be a good and proper send-off that I'm excited to see. And yeah, it's gonna be a bummer not having him around anymore, but good to know that he'll be going out on his own terms.
So here's the part that I was just looking at, I wanted to sort of see, is that yes, it was fun, and yes, over the years it got progressively more ridiculous and outrageous, and it became what you would call a gimmick. But looking at his stats, 286 and 144.
Hey, he still knows ball.
He knew ball the whole time, right? As funny, as goofy, whatever it was. Yes, it was the gimmick part of the show, but he was right a lot.
Yeah, and that is the difference between somebody like him and Pat McAfee to a lot of people. And look, I don't mind Pat. I think he brings entertainment to the show, but a lot of people say, well, Pat McAfee's not up there breaking things down like some of these other guys. He's just up there being a goof. And Lee Corso had the ability to be a goof,
right,
but also like give you actual detailed insight onto a coach's thought process, what's happening on the field and those kind of things that made him so versatile and so perfect for the show.
So his history with South Carolina is sordid. He didn't use our mascot often, but when he did, the results not great.
I think he picked LSU last year when they came to town.
He did pick LSU last year when he came into town. However, I was just looking at this. Opening 2023, he picked North Carolina, but we won that game. So we'll take North Carolina.
We didn't win the North Carolina game.
True, yeah, so
lost that one.
Like I said, it's been kind of. And then in my personal Lee Corso record book, he picked Florida over South Carolina, November 10th, 2001. They didn't punt that game. That's the infamous blackout game where Steve Spurrier thanked us for wearing black in the stands so that they could see the ball better.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's tough.
He picked Florida. And then also 2004, he picked us to beat Georgia. You might remember this. This might be in your wheelhouse.
Yep.
tight game. I believe it might have been tied going very deep. I believe the score might have been 20-16.
Always low scoring between y'all two.
Yeah, it was a tough game, but Georgia ended up beating. So our history personally with the university and Lee.
He did pick y'all in 2012
yes.
against Georgia.
Yes.
That was where he scared Herbie with
That's when he brings out the real chicken.
Herbstreet's like, he didn't know what to do. And as somebody that's held Sir Big Spur, it is terrifying.
I have a picture where I'm smiling, but I was not happy on the inside.
Like, get this bird in my hands. Get it under my hands.
So I do think South Carolina will make the final montage. So when they're pulling out all the clips,
point.
I do think that because Cocky's just a great head.
The headgear itself is over the top compared to some of the others.
Yeah.
That's going to make it in at some point.
Your prediction. He picked Brutus first. You called it. You think he's going to go with Brutus at the end?
Yeah, I think that's the more high-profile matchup because again, Florida State didn't have a good season last year. Mm-hmm. The only reason they would go would be because that's his alma mater. But I have a feeling to try and book in Brutus, it'd be Texas at Ohio State. That's my thought.
That's game one, right?
That is.
I think that's the one you do.
That might be a noon kick, though. So you want the crowd behind him when he's making the pick. Maybe they don't go there. Maybe they do go to Tallahassee.
Well, he has roots down there. We'll see.
We'll see.
Congratulations to a legend in all our hearts and minds. We will all be watching with handkerchiefs and tissues ready for that legendary send-off. Tyler, it's fun as usual, man. Appreciate it. Jen,
absolutely.
Always fun.
Have a great weekend. We appreciate it. Bill from Yemisi, if you're still listening, appreciate you. Thank y'all for listening. We'll see y'all on Monday.